evening. If I may have your attention, welcome to the Wednesday, June 27, 2018 meeting of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. My name is David Campos, and I'm the chair of the committee. Just as a point of information, if you are here for the film screening, we're not doing that tonight in this room. It's in the blue room, from what I understand. So please note that. With that, I will begin with item number 1 and turn to the secretary to call to order. The second item, which is part of 1 roll call.
Member Alexander. Member Alexander. Member Aliotto. Here. Member Baraka. Excused. Member Breed. Member Breed. Member Campos.
Present.
Member Chan.
Present.
Member Cohen.
She's excused.
Member De Jesus. Present. Member Dufty.
Here.
Member Feuer. Excused. Member Galata.
Here.
Member Broke.
Here.
Member Gupta.
Here.
Member Afshay is here. Member Tishay.
Here.
Member Jung. Member Jung. Member Kim.
By proxy.
Member LaCroix.
Present.
Member Leviton. Member Leviton. Member Lowe. Member Mahogany. Member Mandelman. Member Maxwell.
Here.
Member Norton. Senator Feinstein.
Proxy here.
Leader Pelosi. Member Spear.
Here.
Member Ma.
Here by proxy.
Member Weiner.
Here.
Member Ting. Ting. And Member Chu.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And we'll see. Is this working?
Member O'Shea, I did one. I just got it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Is this working? Good people? Yeah, people hear me. Okay. So a couple of points. We have, right now, there's a budget committee meeting at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. So I believe that a number of people, not only members of the committee here, but also members of the public are attending that process. And before we get into the substance of our business today, I do want to note, just wish congratulations to a number of members of this body that were recently elected. Beginning, of course, with our newly elected mayor-elect of San Francisco, member London Breed. I want to say congratulations, Madam Mayor-elect, and success. We also want to congratulate member Malia Cohen, who just became the last Democrat standing in the seat for Board of Equalization, and hopefully will soon be getting officially the endorsement of the Democratic Party. And she also was just elected unanimously president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. So congratulations to Member Cohen, who's calling right before because she's chairing the budget committee, so that's the reason she's unable to be here. And then lastly to Member Ma, who had been serving as a member of the Board of Equalization, who has just been elected, at least selected, or the last Democrat to be standing for the treasurer of the state of California. So congratulations to Member Ma. With that, we'll now go to item number 2, which is approval of meeting. Oh yes, I'm sorry. I forgot, of course, Member Mandelman for District 8. Who was just elected to serve the remainder of that term. Member Mandelman, congratulations, and I think we're going to see that. So with that, we move on to item number 2, which is the approval of the meeting agenda. So we have the meeting agenda before you. Yes, Member Shea.
Mr. Chair, I would like to ask if the committee would entertain a motion to add the letter from Senator John Burton and also a analysis from Irish American Democratic Club to the agenda for tonight for discussion. I'd like to make that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. We can open it up to discussion. So I think we have a second by Member Leota. So if we can have that for And as I understand it from the parliamentarian, to add something to the agenda, we need a 2/3 vote. Colleagues?
I'll just say something. I got the letter today, so, and I mean, I'm not really prepared to talk about it, and I think there's some inaccuracies in that letter that need to be checked out, so I would not be in support of that.
Any other member who would like to speak on this motion?
So could you,
Yes, Member Alioto.
can you explain the procedure if indeed there are not votes to discuss it now? Does it automatically get put on the agenda for the next meeting?
So the way that it works, Member Alioto, is that during the discussion of new business, a member can raise that possibility and request that, and then it's up to the chair. But I, as a general rule, have a policy that if a request is made to put something on the agenda, I will be happy to do that. And if that happens, it will be put on the agenda for the next meeting of the committee.
Right, thank you.
Yes, Member Duffy.
So I just wondered, is someone from the Irish American Democratic Club here to speak? So if this is on the agenda, or is Senator Burton likely to come, or through the chair, or is this to simply discuss their letters? So I just wondered if they're in attendance.
I don't know what the agenda item is, exactly what the request is to Member Shea.
Thank you, Chair. Essentially, we all received a letter 2 nights ago, and it came as a surprise. Obviously, it comes from Senator Burton. We're all going to pay attention to it a little bit more. Now it's coming from one of our long-standing Democratic clubs in the city as well. The question would be to be able to ask the chair and any other member who serves on the slate card committee questions about the slate card process. In years past, I know that when I was on the slate card committee, it was a very open process. We had sort of a big tent philosophy. We had all types of different sides at the table. And I don't know if that happened this time or not. I'm not saying it did or did not. I have questions about it. I'd like to ask that in front of all of you, and I'd like to hear from the slate card committee what exactly happened in this election, because there were certainly some inconsistencies from previous year's practice from the DCCC, and I think we deserve to have some questions answered.
Any other comments, questions? So, yes, Member Galata.
Well, I think that since this came pretty late, and as someone who puts the agenda together for the body, I think we do a disservice when items come before the body so late without the proper notice. So I would suggest we notice this, and this item could be raised under new business tonight, and then agendized for next month's meeting, so that also the full body, since there's members who are not present tonight, can be aware that this discussion is happening and participate.
Any other comments? Yes, Member King.
Thanks. I was just going to say that if there's going to be a motion, I was going to abstain just because this is the first time seeing this. Those who are proxies, it's, let's try to run out and get our bosses on the phone. It's kind of hard to discuss the things. I mean, it's the first instance. It is definitely something that we should talk about and have people the chance to do their research and come back next month. People on the committee be prepared to discuss it.
Any other comments? Yes, Member Alioto.
I would just like to understand a couple of answers, not necessarily have a full-on committee hearing on it, but just a couple of answers of how it happened. Because as a member of this board, and also as a former candidate for mayor of San Francisco, this Veritas properties people are one of the largest evictors in our city, and they are also lobbyists to the extent that they were lobbying in front of Supervisor Jeff Sheehy, and as such, I am a member of this committee that accepted money from lobbyists, which, as we all know, from January 1st of 2018 is no longer legal. So I just need to have a couple of questions answered so that I know where I go as far as protecting myself in this committee with what went on.
Any other comments? So why don't we do a roll call on the motion to add the, yes, Member Alexander.
So, I appreciate this issue is in writing, and I was a tenant organizer and the treasurer of this committee. I was a tenant organizer since 2004 in the Tenderloin and dealt with many versions of Veritas. I I not only helped fight evictions for their predecessors, but also was a tenant who had, people who like bodyguards coming at my door at 5 o'clock in the morning trying to force me and my roommates, my neighbors to sign leases that basically nullified all of our rights. So I have personal experience and professional experience working with companies like this. I think that this does not need to be on the agenda tonight. I think we can wait. I think it's a moot issue. If there is an issue, I think we should agendize it for next month so we can kind of get a better understanding of it. I also wanted to just say this money came in after all of our endorsements. This money is a very small percentage of all the money that we spent. So it's kind of just curious to me that why it's even coming.
Any other comments? So we'll do a roll. Yes, Member Wiener.
Is that relevant now? It's not a great amount. I mean, I understand the only issue before us now is whether or not we're going to discuss this. I appreciate that, but I think you sort of stepped over the bound.
Member Tom Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Point of order, so I'll just do that. We're discussing whether or not it's going to be on the agenda or not. We're not discussing the actual item. That's for whether it gets on the agenda tonight or not. So, Chair, call the question.
So we have a roll call on the question of whether to add this item on the agenda. And for recording secretary?
Member Alexander?
For tonight.
I'm against having the conversation.
So the
Nay.
vote, nay.
Oh.
We're doing a roll call. No.
Member Aliota? Yes. Member Baraka? Oh, sorry. Member Campos?
No.
Member Chan?
No.
Member De Jesus?
No.
Member Duffy?
No.
Member Galata?
No.
Member Grove?
No.
Member Gupta?
Okay.
Member F. Shea is a no. Member Tom Shea?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Kim?
No.
Member LaCroix?
No.
Wow, sorry. Member, Member Maxwell?
No.
Member Norton? Member Feinstein?
I'll have to abstain.
Hello? Spear?
Abstain.
Ma?
Abstain.
Wiener?
Yes.
Ting?
Abstain.
And Shu?
Yes.
The total count is yes at 5, no at 11, 5 abstentions, 10 absences.
So it requires a 2/3 vote, so the motion fails. And we will bring that up again during new business. If you can now, any other comments or changes proposed for the agenda that's before you? Yes, Member Francis Shea.
I actually plan to bring this up in new business, but given sort of that it is sort of urgent, I just wanted to put it out there to see if there was a desire to add this to agenda, but I put together a resolution about condemning recent Supreme Court decisions and wanted to have us actually take a stance, in particular, a number of Supreme Court decisions that you guys are all aware of that happened in June, the Masterpiece Steak Shop, the Trump versus Hawaii, the Truth Act one, Janice, wanted us all to be able to take a position on that. I was gonna propose it for new business. I don't know if there's a desire to actually add it on the agenda. I do have copies, which I can share with you guys.
If I may, I just want to make this point, and I don't know if that's a question for our parliamentarian, and I think it generally applies to the idea of adding items to the agenda that are not on the notice. Because we have members of the Board of Supervisors that are members of this body, as a general rule, which we have adopted, we have to follow the Brown Act. And the Brown Act requires that before an item is discussed and voted think that as a general rule, even if we had a 2/3 vote of this motion or any other motion, there is a legal question as to whether or not, given that we already said that we would follow the Brown Act, we could actually do that. So I just want to note that. And I know that if we were the Board of Supervisors, we wouldn't be able to do that. And so I just note that.
A point of clarification, we wouldn't be
Member Alio,
able to do what? Add it to the agenda? No.
we wouldn't be able to discuss it or act on it legally under the Brown Act. Yes, Member Township.
So, thank you for that clarification. I think that's a really important point. I'm going to feel really disenfranchised if Member Shea introduces this motion and it wins by 2/3 majority of this committee. We just deny another item that we wanted to add to the agenda by another member. Now, I'm not disparaging anybody's resolution. We both have different points of view, and that's fine. But if it comes up, and I think Member Shea is about ready to make a motion, it's probably going to get a second, and it wins by 2/3. Please know where this puts the committee as a whole ties the Democratic topics.
I think for myself, I made that point because I intend to vote against any motion to add anything to the agenda for that reason. And I wanted to know. Yes, Member Steele.
Cheryl, I'm not an attorney anymore, but my recollection of the Brown Act, if you were going to follow the Brown Act, if I remember, you vote 2/3 because there's some sort of emergency. I think that was the terminology. So if you're actually going to follow that concept and follow the Brown Act, you have to declare this is some sort of necessary emergency or an urgency that would otherwise circumvent.
And I think maybe there's an argument on that front with respect to the Supreme Court rulings today, but some of the other ones. But Member Francis Shea.
So I think if I could respond to Member Shea, I actually wasn't planning to make a motion. In fact, I was planning to bring this up in new business. The only reason I brought it up now was that if there is a will, because there is the urgency, I think that applies to this, that does not necessarily apply to us discussing something that's already passed. I mean, the urgency here is that there will be a number of actions that are happening across the city in response to that, and there may be a desire by members to be able to have an official stance by the Democratic Party. My intention, though, was to introduce this in new business. I just, with the conversations that have been happening recently, then thought I would make that offer and have that discussion at this point to see if there is an interest.
Member Alexander.
I support putting this on the agenda for the same reason. There had been the plan that the day that the Janus ruling would happen, that there would be a big reaction, which is probably why your Facebook feeds hopefully is filled with people with signs holding union. We didn't know until this morning that it would be today. Well, this is the last day, could possibly have been. So I think that there's nothing, even San Francisco has any power over anything here, but that to be able to say affirmatively today that San Francisco Democratic Party joins with the community, joins with labor, joins with their different constituencies, and stands with, that it would be really late next month.
Member Jesus.
I hear what you're saying, that there's something about notice and acting on something. So, we also can make a statement through the executive board on this, that San Francisco stands with this. It's something that we can do much more quickly than waiting a month from now, putting it on the agenda. So that's something I'd like to offer.
So, Member Francis Shea, how would you like to proceed? Do you have a motion?
I didn't have a motion.
Okay, so there is no motion. So is there any, yes, Member Galan.
Just to follow up on Member De Jesus' point, I do think we can take another action tonight, and I'd like to propose to the body that we actually take a group photo holding a sign that #union, #we rise, #organize, which has been out there on social media, and that's a public way we can take a stand tonight.
So, is there any other amendment to the agenda that's before you? If not, can we have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Duffy, second by De Jesus. Can we take the approval of the agenda, that motion, without objection? Without objection. The agenda is approved. Thank you. The we can now go to the approval of the meeting minutes of the meeting of May 23rd, 2018. Are there any amendments to the minutes for that meeting? Seeing none, motion by Member Duffy, seconded by Member De Jesus. Can we take that motion without objection? Without objection, the minutes are approved. Now we will proceed to public comment. And let me just make one quick note about public comment. As you probably noticed on the agenda, we specifically gave each member of the public up to 2 minutes to speak. The prior practice was to give up to 1 minute, but the executive committee discussed the issue and wanted to maximize public comment. Under our bylaws, we could actually do that. So just wanted to note that. So I'm going to call people, and if you can please come up and line up. We have the executive director is taking, we have a timekeeper here. So please, we would ask you to respect your time limit so that everyone gets the same amount of time. So please come on up. Corey Smith, Pedro Hernandez, Brandon Orami, Kevin Ortiz, Jacqueline Miller, Andrew Michael. Come on up.
So what's the new number to the hearing?
If your name has been called, just go right ahead.
Hello again.
Is the mic working? Yes.
There it is. You have to get really close. Hello again. Pedro Hernandez with the Deputy Director of Fairfield, California. We're doing a lot of education in San Francisco, making sure all the voters felt good about it. I understand you're going to be looking at an item this evening to from your support for this voting, which we think is fantastic. We saw increased turnout. More people voted in the mayor's race than any other contest on the ballot. There were a lot less errors. There were 6 times as many errors in the governor's race. 9 in 10 voters got on the same election. And it was, and ranked voting has led to increased diversity across the Bay Area, and we're so happy that you're considering supporting this resolution this evening. I'll be around for questions. If folks have any questions, I understand that Peter's going to be passing around a handout when the item comes out. Thank you so much.
Can I, through the chair?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, for someone who was in this race and along with Supervisor Jane Kim, we had real problems with how long it took afterwards to find out. It was a mini torture, and I'm sure if you asked London Bree or Mark Leno, who, by the way, Mr. Chair, I think we should congratulate all the people who participated in this because certainly they all put their heart and soul into it, and signing on that dotted line to even run for office in this state should be congratulated. Seems to be quite impossible to get that.
Oh, I can get that information all the time, but
If I may just jump in, because I want to respect the process. With public comment, we're here to hear public comment unless we have a specific question. We want to discuss the substance of the public comment. In this case, there's an item on the agenda that will allow us the opportunity to do that. So I just want to be very respectful of the process.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to let you know my concern about the time and about how long it took to get results. Because it used to be called instant runoff.
yeah, it was the first meeting.
Okay, we can now go on to the next speaker, please.
Hello, good evening, members of the San Francisco Democratic Party. My name is Brandon Orami. As some of you know, I'm an officer of the Richmond District Democratic Club. I'm also an Assembly District delegate representing Assembly District 19, the beautiful west side of San Francisco. The first thing I wanted to do was express my support for our current sanctuary city policy, especially since President Trump currently sits in our White House. I hope, Member Aliotto, that you rethink your position on this subject and repeal your effort to weaken protections for undocumented immigrants in this beautiful city of ours. Secondly, I wanted to urge this body to pass item number 10, the resolution reaffirming support for ranked choice voting. I wanted to thank members Galata, Shea, Alexander, and Chair Campos for sponsoring this resolution. The California Democratic Party platform supports ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting has increased voter turnout in San Francisco by 270%. We no longer have December runoff elections, which were a big issue in off-year elections. No one ever showed up. No one wanted to vote that close to Christmas time. It has also helped increase the number of candidates of color elected throughout every city and county that it has been implemented by 38%, which is very substantial, I must say. And I would say no electoral process is perfect, but electoral process that brings up voter turnout and helps increase the number of people of color elected into office is very, very significant. I hope this body votes reaffirming their support and aligns with the California Democratic Party in supporting ranked choice voting. And I also hope you all have a great day and that your pride was a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a point of clarification in terms of the process, we understand that people may have specific concerns, whether it's me or any member of the public, and that's your right. When you address the body, just if you can address your comments to the entire body, you can make whatever point you want. We just want to make sure that we know that. Next speaker, please.
But I need another point of clarification. Are you saying that if somebody specifically says something to me and about something I'm doing, that I can't ask them questions?
Well, I think if there's a clarifying question, you can ask a clarifying question, but I think that the general rule with public comment is that it's a one-way street. You hear what people have to say, and that it's not a debate, whether it's talking about me or any other member.
No, I understand that, but public debate, in my experience as former president of the board, has always been to discuss and find out what the problem is, also for the opportunity to rise. I don't want to do that because I don't want to take up a lot of time either. But having said that, I want to make sure that if somebody addresses something specifically to me, I am able at least to ask them what is their understanding of what it is that they're asking me to do.
This is just for the, and I'm happy to be overruled by the majority of the body here, but I am not going to allow a debate between a member of the public or a member of the body. If there's a clarifying question, that's appropriate, but beyond that, there is no debate. Just to our parliamentarian.
I think I will add to this chair compost that to advise maybe members of the public in your public comment to address your comments to the entire Democratic County Central Committee instead of one particular member to avoid that kind of like back and forth discussion. You can always like pull one of us off the side at the end of the meeting if you have something to bring up and I guess clarify a question. I think that maybe get to your point. Yeah.
I just want to say though, addressing the whole body doesn't mean that you don't specifically identify a concern that you may have with one of us, that's your right. But just when you come to the body, address your comments to the entire body. Next speaker, please. I think I read a number of names. I'm going to read a couple more. Oh, please, if I called your name, please come on up. If you're waiting, fine. I called names earlier. Okay, I'm going to call the names again. Corey Smith, Pedro Hernandez, Brandon Harami, Kevin Ortiz, Jacqueline Miller, Andrew Michael, I'm going to read a couple more names, Wendy Aragon, and Ritwik Sarkar. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Go ahead.
My name is Jacqueline Miller, and thank you all for all the work you do in your service to San Francisco. I know in this heated, very uncomfortable political environment that we're all in today, none of our jobs are easy. I have lived in San Francisco since 1990. I'm the CEO and founder of the United Nations NGO called Partnerships for Change, and we're based in Presidio. Our work is to accelerate social and economic transformation and help people that are marginalized and discriminated against and help justice. We do documentaries. We work closely with 60 Minutes on mass incarceration, and also an interesting film called Shame about the forced conversion therapy on gays that still is rampant in this country. I'm proud to say that Angela Aliotto is on our board, and through Angela, our organization that works all around the world in the poorest countries with the poorest of the poor, we've been able to see Pope Francis 3 times. We've been able to work with the Vatican and all of their efforts. She also serves on the board with the Dalai Lama, and it's through Angela love that many monks, Tibetan Buddhist monks, Theravadic Buddhist monks, Hindu priests, and many leaders of various spiritual groups have been supported by Angela and their work. I'm just here today to call for harmony and unity. We work in very tribal areas where I have to say the political process is a lot more civil than it has been in the United States and Washington, D.C., and in San Francisco. The whole issue around the sanctuary cities is simply to protect our families in San Francisco against felons. No more, no less. And it's fairly logical that that's a reasonable request that we all have. This is not a Republican, it's not a Trump.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, thank you again.
You can speak into the mic.
Hello, thank you for all of your service to the city. And my name is Andrew Michael. I also am with Partnerships for Change, and I'm a director there, and also have worked with Angela as well. And I want to thank her for running for mayor, bringing up issues that really need to be solved. Number one, of course, is homelessness. One of the most important. That we really need to get to solutions, and not sort of rhetorical comments and just throwing money where it doesn't do anything significant. Secondly, I also want to speak in favor of amending the sanctuary city so that we don't create a sanctuary for convicted felons, but create a sanctuary for everybody in our community, especially immigrants as well. So I want to say that we should support this, and I hope this committee will support it as well. And finally, just to say that I think we all realize this, but we all need to work in unity, even though we have our debates. We have to work in unity to do the best we can to make not only San Francisco better, but also our nation. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Kevin Ortiz. I'm a member of the Latino Democratic Club, and I'm on the executive body. It's a really troubling time that we're living in, both locally and nationally, because we have families that are being separated. We have, it's really troubling and disheartening to see my community being ripped apart. And so we've come together as a little coalition of clubs, and just want to say that we want to express our collective concern regarding member Angela Alioto's ballot measure that's going to strip down local sanctuary city ordinance. To be clear, when it comes to a felony, all it takes is re-entry into the country and falsification of a document to get a felony. So to make that very clear, it's troubling that the ballot measure was written that way, and then it was amended to not seem like what it was, an attack on immigrants. So on May 10th, member Aliota introduced and is currently collecting signatures for a ballot measure that would roll back protections of the San Francisco City and Refuge Party and California Party platforms, which support reforming criminal justice reform, comprehensive immigration reform, including sanctuary and state laws. And it breaks my heart because I'm a San Francisco native, second generation. My mom grew up in the city as well, and it's troubling to see a native going after a city that's written a law that's so inclusive to communities of color, especially San Francisco has always been a very welcoming place. But that being said, I just want to, as a member of Latino Democratic Club, we just want to express our biggest concerns against that. That being said, we're not asking to remove Angela from this body. We want to make that very, very clear. It's just we disagree with what is going on.
Mr. Chair, seriously, Mr. Chair.
Do you have a question?
Yes, you have a duty as the chair of this committee to not allow what just occurred. He has not got a clue what the ordinance says.
He has a right to speak just like you have a right to speak.
Understand the ordinance, and you're telling me I don't have a right to speak.
You have a right to speak, and they have a right to speak.
Then a point of clarification. The ordinance is only for the second attempt to kill somebody, felony. Attempt to kill somebody. You've already killed somebody once. It's the second dangerous.
This is not a debate. We're out of order, member Alioto.
No, it's
Let
out
the
of
members
order
of the
for you
public
to
speak.
allow the public
No, Can we give 30 seconds back to this member of the public?
And we need to report to the state
You
FDCCC.
cannot have a debate with a member of the public. You may have a difference of opinion about what they think, but just like you have your opinion to say what you think, they have an opinion to say what they
But
think.
you must, as the chair of this committee, allow me to voice my first opinion.
Not to have a debate with them.
I'm not having a debate,
Yes,
I'm
you are.
clarifying, he misunderstands the ordinance.
That is intimidating for the public trying to speak.
Well, I agree, I'm interrupting his time. Take control.
Excuse me, but you cannot interrupt members of the public when they speak and voice their opinion.
You have 30 seconds on the clock, we should jump in.
We can give him 30 seconds back, please. Go ahead, Mr. Ortiz.
So there's no precedent in the DCCC's bylaws for this type of behavior that's been exhibited. Therefore, we ask that you not allow this ballot measure to go unaddressed. We're looking to you, our party leaders, to do the right thing and send a clear message that this is unacceptable. Respectfully, the LSP, Hopeless Democratic Club, Arduino LGBTQ Democratic Club, New Avenues Democratic Club, Cherylville Democratic Club, Richmond District Democratic Club, Rosepac Democratic Club, San Francisco Latino Democratic Club, and the Latino Young Dems of San Francisco.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, my name is Wendy Aragon. I am the Vice President of the Richmond District Democratic Club. Our President Peter Lauderborn could not be here tonight, and for our bylaws, I will not stand in for him. He thought it was more important for me to come here as a Latina, and so I will be invoking presidential privilege tonight, so I have 1 minute.
Pursuant to our bylaws, you can speak as an associate member.
So, we have children being separated from families and put into cages. The Supreme Court's held a Muslim ban. As Democrats, these are not our core values for going after immigrants to be acting them in any way, shape, or form. The Sanctuary City Ordinance, as it was written by former Supervisor Jim Gonzalez, was written how it was written, then by former Supervisor David Campos, it was given due process. The ordinance, I understand Member Elliott's point, but the ordinance as it is does not protect violent felons. And it's really troubling in this time to hear this. As Democrats in this Trump administration, we should not be promoting xenophobia. We should not be promoting anti-immigrant sentiment. And the sad thing is, when this ballot measure came out on social media, many of us saw it, the people who were supporting Angela were xenophobes. They were racist. They were calling Latinos dogs. They were calling us illegal aliens. And that is hurtful. As a Latina, my great-grandfather came here from Mexico after the revolution. We falsified documents after leaving the revolution and fighting Pancho Villa. He killed people. Like, if it was today, he would have to be deported for that. I mean, really think about that. This is a country of immigrants, and it's painful to see that any Democrat would actually stoop to this level to change it just during this time. This is not the time. So I ask you please to not let this go unchecked. Like I said, like Kevin said, we are not asking for removal. We are not asking for resignation. We are asking this body to take a stand and say something. Because a member of this body, who's an elected Democrat, and representing this party, and representing my district, frankly, is fueling this kind of sentiment, whether she realizes it or not. Maybe it's not intentional, but there are people out there who are cheering her on for the wrong reasons, including Tucker Carlson, the show she put on. And I think when you have a Democrat going on Fox News and agreeing with them and saying, I'll gladly take a campaign donation from you, that is painful to see a Democrat do that. So, I have been a Democrat since I was 18 years old. I was raised in the Democratic Party. I was raised in a strong Latino family, and I don't think that this is appropriate to go forward on the ballot, and I want the party to take a stand.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I want to make it clear you're not allowing me to ask one question of clarification. I want to make it clear for
What
this
is your
record.
question of clarification?
That I was the sponsor of the sanctuary law. I spent 4 years of my life, and the purpose of it was to save and take care of and protect families.
That is not a question, that is a statement.
Dangerous felons. She misquoted it, uncorrected.
What is your question? Okay, we're gonna call a couple more speakers again. Bakul, Lakshi, Peter, Hashmar, and Ali.
I'm not Peter. I apologize. I'm Ali Jabari, and I wish I was Hispanic, but I'm a Persian, Iranian, second generation, but also a citizen of this country. What I want to say is right now, I want to try not to get emotional, but my country is fighting a revolution for a democratic process, which they did back in '79, which I met my husband. We decided to come to this city, and I have a daughter who was born in this city, who graduated from high school in this city, who's going to college in the fall, and I'm pretty darn proud. I also want to mention that I have 7 restaurants in this city in the financial district, which employ mostly devoted, over 20 years, Hispanic employees, which I would die for, and so would my husband. But again, I want to apologize that I'm the minority. Here's what I want to say. I'm incredibly disappointed, and I wish I could go back to my relatives in Tehran, who are probably being shot or with sticks, being abused or whatever, to dream of a democratic process. And what I've experienced is not so much a democratic process. Right now, the last 30 minutes, there were 2 measures that could have been on a ballot, but because of votes and whatever political game, and I will tell you the first one, I am not at all experienced in politics, but I will tell you the first time that I entered into politics was to support all the others. So I'm going to get right to the point. As an immigrant, and I will tell you that, but also as an American citizen, and damn proud as an American citizen, the sanctuary law that she talked about not only protected my relatives, but protected a boatload of immigrants that we're all forgetting here. I think what she is trying to say, and what is so freaking irritated as a bachelor degree and a master's of rhetoric from UC Berkeley, is look, if you're a felon and you're convicted, you're not going to get the same rights. It doesn't quite matter if you are an immigrant, you're undocumented, or you're a citizen. And this whole issue has been so freaking annoying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please. I'm going to read a couple more names. Michelle Roberts, Sophia Aguilar. Go ahead, sir. You can speak into the mic, please. Adam, can you like...
I can speak at this volume if everybody's okay with it.
So it's being webcast. Okay. It's on. It's on.
Good evening to members of the board. My name is Ritik Sarkar. I came into this country 9 months ago. It took me and my family 13 years to come here. I know my experience is not the one of everybody in this room and everybody behind me, but I would like to put my experience there nonetheless. I come from a country where the democratic procedure, though where it seems very similar, is very different. We don't have meetings like this. We have elected representatives who will, just put their own political weight behind their decisions. But a committee like this is very important because it lets people who we've elected think with a level head and think with a very clear understanding of what measures to put into place, read through the fine lines, read through the fine print, and know what it is that's coming in front of you. I'm also here to talk about Angela Leoto. I joined her campaign in January. I was out of a job, and I needed experience. I'm a trained journalist and I want to get back into the field. It's been very difficult for me, and the level of support she's shown to me, and not only me, to members of the community who she's fought for continuously, immigrants especially, when she was involved in passing the first sanctuary law. She knows what this law is inside and out. She is a lawyer, she is a child lawyer, she is a mother, she is a grandmother. She knows what it is she's talking about. And I feel that members here, you guys have this is an incredible process that a committee like this, at this level, is being allowed to discuss. It doesn't go just to a top level and fly off people's heads. This is very important. I want everybody to know that you are all educated, brilliant people. You represent the Democratic Party. And I would just implore you to read through the fine print and not let complete emotion govern your thinking. Come from the largest democracy in the world, which is India, and right now it's a joke. However tough it seems, we're looking at America's democracy to repair itself and be that definition of democracy.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to read a couple more names, Michael Ferrantino and Bolan Vision. Next speaker, people that I call please come forward. Thank you.
name is Mukul. I am an immigrant too. I came here around the...
Speaking to the mics.
Yes, my name is Mukul. I too am an immigrant, and I came here around the year 2000. And it does pain me to see how people on either extreme are trying to outdo each other and leapfrog each other to be crazier than the other. It would rather be nicer if everybody tried to work together and had some unity. When I came here, I was trying to figure things out, figure out the country, and I would watch our television, and I would watch everything. I would watch Fox News too. I would watch Tucker Carlson. And at that time, around the early 2000s, we used to wear a bow tie. It's really nice to see some unity in our fashion choices. I mean, if we can do what if we can dress like he can dress, why can't we also, and you can't talk back, remember, it's a one-way communication. So if we can do that, why can't we see the other's point of view? So there's nothing wrong with him, perfect. Now, I would say this, that being an immigrant, being educated, my grandfather, my great-grandfather was police officers in Venezuela. I see how communities must work together with police, and police must get feedback, information, witnesses from the community so that they can protect the community. If community cannot go to the police and report a crime for fear of being deported, then police can't keep the entire city safe. That includes everybody else. If a woman is being beaten by her husband every night, but she can't go tell the police for fear that she and her children are going to be deported, then that is a crime that every justice should be for everyone. So, Sanctuary City, people should be protected. But
Time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please. And again, I would ask people to speak into the mic so we can hear you, because this is also being there's a webcast, so people can hear you online as well.
So, I'm not a big fan of censorship. I was sitting on a Berkeley law professor talk about the dangers of censoring, especially conservative people who make them martyrs. But with that said, though, I'm a first-generation Latino. My parents are immigrants. I used to have nightmares about my parents being deported. And I had a nightmare that I still remember to this day of going to a detention center and saving my mom from being deported. And so when I heard that Eliotto was proposing a measure to gut our sanctuary laws and the things that were said during the race, it shocks me. Deportation does not solve the issues of our state or city. Deporting someone because of a felony simply means that we'd rather forget about if the felony ever happened and just deport it and be rid with it. Instead, what we need to do, instead of governing our sanctuary laws and our protections for our immigrant communities here, we need to look on why members in our communities are committing felonies and how we can solve them and resolve them. That is how we get work done. When we simply deport people on crimes they commit, that does not solve anything. That does not solve what's going on in our communities. That is why instead of touching our sanctuary laws, we should look at better alternatives to improving our community with our immigrant members instead of touching sanctuary laws. Instead, we should strengthen sanctuary laws as families are being divided and having this discussion about bringing people together, the immigrant community together, and how we can improve it. Because when we talk about deportation, we're talking about families here. We're talking about people with bright, amazing futures. And when we talk about deportation and threaten deportations, and because someone made a mistake, again, you can get deported by being stopped at a red light by a police officer. So I'd rather be strategic about this, and intelligent and smart and hardworking about this, and looking at the issues that immigrant communities are creating and solving them, and coming as a community and solving them, rather than deporting them and forgetting about the issue together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarifying
Next.
question?
Yes.
So, are you reading Pedagogy of the Oppressed?
Yes.
That's how I know it's a good book.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. We have another card from Tammy Bryan. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, distinguished council. My name is Joseph Tammy Bryan. I'm sorry if I stutter. English is not my first language. I am a political refugee. My family immigrated to the U.S. in 1989 from totalitarian Poland. Before that, my family faced actual persecution from real-life Nazis, with my grandfather spending far than 4 about today is actually transparency and the value of words. First, let me speak about transparency. The letter that was sent out to the commission, I believe, should be discussed because all political parties need to base themselves on openness and transparency. Without those two cornerstones, we cannot move forward. And the slate card being distributed without all endorsed candidates seems disrespectful. Secondly, let me speak about what other people have been speaking about tonight in regards to the sanctuary law and the, to my view, the Senator Angela Alliota. I have been lucky enough to meet Ms. Alliota about 3 years ago when I was an intern, and she has shown nothing but kindness to all people of all different walks of life without asking where they're from or what they can do for them. I think that is the most important thing in factor in a human being. And then reading also the sanctuary law, how it's been written, and then how it's been read by other members of the public, I can see that there is a politicalization of the commentary, and I believe that is an incredible disenfranchisement for the public. I recommend we review what's been written, and again, refer back to the cornerstones of Democratic parties of openness and transparency. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, my name is Michelle Roberts, this is Sophia Aguilar, and we're here representing the New Avenues Democratic Club's board. I am the president there, and I will try to keep us 2 minutes, so I would like to vote presidential privilege. We're here tonight from the New Avenues Democratic Club. We're a progressive club on the west side, standing with renters, immigrants, families, and residents of San Francisco. We're here to talk, as many folks have, about the concerns of our member Alliota. Tonight we've seen challenges to the rules of order of this body, which is concerning to me and to our club. In a time where San Francisco needs to be the leader in progress resisting an oppressive Trump administration, we need to be clear about our values and where we stand. Angela Alliota has made hers clear. She has in her campaign hired a known Trump supporter. She has turned her back on the Democratic Party and her democratic values by seeking the formal Republican endorsement. And finally, most importantly to me and to our club, is concerning the sanctuary law. Regarding this term of felony, or as it's written in the law, serious felony, I have worked with homeless folks for the last 10 years. Being homeless and going to the bathroom, peeing in the street is a sex offense and is a serious felony. If you happen to be undocumented and do that, you could be deported for simple urination, a thing I assume we all do every day. So, in a time where we have a ban on people because of their religion, when we have concentration camps and children in cages, we need to be clear as a city and as a party about where we stand. I believe we should stand more than ever with immigrants. This is not a time to leave them out in the cold without sanctuary and without a sanctuary city. Therefore, we as a club, as a club board, rather, we voted as a board. I believe we as a Democratic Party and me personally would like to see us retain our sanctuary city status and wish to express concern about member Alliota. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question?
I have a question. What Republican did I ever ask to support me?
You went to the Republican, I'm blanking on the name, I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous, but the Republican board, similar to the DCCC.
No, that was
And
London
the
Breed.
endorsement.
That was London Breed, not me.
I apologize, and I withdraw that portion of my statement if I was misinformed, and I had read an article otherwise, that it was in London Breed, I withdraw that
Let me
portion
take
of my
that back.
statement.
I don't have any idea if that was London Breed. Maybe it wasn't.
Okay.
I understood she wrote a letter to them, but people had gotten that confused with me.
I do apologize,
That's
both
okay,
you personally
but-
and for the misinformation, that was my mistake.
Can I say one other thing? There was a time in San Francisco when everybody wanted everybody's support. Do you want the Republican Party support?
Well, again, if there's a point of clarification, it's appropriate to ask it. I think that has been asked. So if we can move on to the next speaker,
Thank
please.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
broker and developer. And I'm here tonight to support Angela Aliotto, who I know personally, and I helped her on her campaign. 4 words: prior convicted violent felony. That's it. That's what the change is, period. And I've heard a lot of people talk here tonight, and they're completely misinformed. So this sounds like a hatchet job to me. I've never been involved in politics, besides to after that orange gorilla got into the White House. So party unity is kind of the key here, because politics, unlike the business I run, which is top down, is bottom up, or at least ideally it's supposed to be. And if we can't unify here, we're not going to win the White House back, and we're not going to win in November, and we need to. This is kind of a disturbing meeting to me as a person who's new to politics. I've stayed out of it my whole life. I just voted. That's it. I won't tell you my first vote was for Reagan when I was a kid. Boy, did I regret that. But this is kind of silly to me, to have sort of a lynch thing go on here against a person who's done nothing but support this city her whole life, in her personal and professional life, even when she's been out of politics. So what are we doing here? Why are people misinformed about this law? The other politicians stood up and started complaining about it the minute she proposed the change, which was to revert it back to the original law that she wrote. How is no one seeing this? And what do you want to do here? Take a person off this board who's done nothing but help people her whole life and continues to in her professional life? That's all I really have to say. I hope things don't go south here.
Next speaker. Next speaker.
My name is Tammy Bryan. I'm a resident of District 5, and I got here late, and so I'm not going to speak on what's at hand right here, but I just want to speak in favor of sanctuary. And I want to just say that back in 1985, when I married a Salvadorian who fled incredible violence in El Salvador, when the sanctuary law came out, that meant a lot to me because we were petrified that he could be deported, and he did flee for his life and lost many, many family members, including a home. So I appreciated that then, and I appreciate it now. But I also want to say that I don't think people understand that most of the reasons that immigrants are coming to this country are the problems caused by this U.S. government and U.S. corporations. So when people are fleeing, we have to look at ourselves. And why are people leaving the homeland that they love to come to this hostile, difficult to live in nation? I want sanctuaries. I do want sanctuary to remain intact, and if anything, to make it stronger. I think it's wrong because if we're just supporting problems if we deport folks back to their home countries, we don't even think about the effects it has on their homeland and the people there. I believe that if people are caught up in our criminal justice system, we're supposed to be rehabilitating them and doing other things. I know right now my children cannot go visit their grandmother and their family in El Salvador because it is so dangerous. And every night I think about them and I'm so worried. So I don't believe in deporting people who have been violent. I believe in trying to rehabilitate them or they end up in jail. And I just want to say that we really need to be as strong as we can on sanctuary. I don't think we can give in. I think we have to make it stronger because as a mother and a grandmother, I am tortured right now because all these children have been separated from their families and they're even deporting people without their children. And they have no way to get their kids back. And that to me is kidnapping. It's stealing people's children. It's disgusting. So as a mom and a grandmother, I want us to be strong on sanctuary. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public who's name I've called who would like to speak? You have a card? Okay. Please come on up. Go ahead. Thank you. Tabitha. Oh.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry. Go ahead.
You know, I just have to say I did not intend on speaking today because it's not my favorite thing to do, but I
You can speak into the mic, please.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say I am very concerned about what's going on this evening. And as I watch this, and I've been to many DCCC meetings and, you know, seen how these debates go. But what I will say this evening is it definitely does feel like a hatchet job against Angela Aliotto. And I just don't think that's right. I think what we need in this day and age and time with everything that's going on in the United States is unity. And I don't see that happening this evening, and I do think this was intentional, and I think that's what kind of gets me the most about this. This is not the way we should be running the Democratic Party nor the teacher will see. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker. Please come on up. Actually, just state your name when if you don't mind, when you're up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wade Bastion. I'm a resident of District 1. Just want to say kind of a general statement. I think that this debate about sanctuary status kind of misses the whole point of sanctuary. Sanctuary is for everyone. And the law applies to everyone, even those who are violently convicted felons. They're still subject to the law. They still go to prison, and then they're usually deported if they do not have legal status in this country. At least they do in Arizona, where I'm from. But they are still subject to due process. And then they are entitled to this full franchises of the same due process of the United States Constitution. That's what makes us American. I think that to deny them that because of cherry picking, trying to find our ideal undocumented immigrants is really disgusting. It happens in a lot of other communities also. And I think that we talk about that a lot. We don't talk about it maybe as much in folks that are undocumented. And I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to see this body do that. I think that if we're going to decide that we're going to sanctuary state, then sanctuary is for everybody, especially those of us who came here for that kind of sanctuary, whether or not we have documented status or not. That's kind of all.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public who has not spoken who would like to speak on general public comment? Seeing none. Sorry? Seeing none, public comment is closed. And I want to just again thank members of the public for coming and speaking. That's one of the most important things we do as a body, is listening to our members. With that, just want to note a couple of points. One, we have a proxy for member Jen Lowe, Kaylee Froth. And so we'll now go on to item number 5, which is reports from the various officers. And I will begin with the chair's report. And I just want to note a couple of points. And I've said this to a number of people, and I've shared it on social media. But for me, on a very personal level, it's been a very tough couple of weeks. I came to this country as an undocumented kid. I was actually in a detention center myself. And when you're seeing the images of kids in cages, and when you're seeing everything that's happening at the national level, and today, and this week being possibly, those of us who have followed the U.S. Supreme Court, probably the darkest period that the U.S. Supreme Court has seen in who knows how long. The work that we do as Democrats is important work, because there is a difference in how we as Democrats approach those issues. And I think it's important for us to recognize differences, and we have them at the local level. But I think that we also have to figure out how we work together notwithstanding those differences, because we have a lot more in common than we do in difference. And that's what we have tried to do. And one of the things that we have done, I'm proud to report that we collectively had a very strong program for this past election. We are proud of all the Democrats who ran, and I am proud of the communications that we collectively put together as a party to San Francisco Democrats, and we have tried to make the party more relevant in the lives of people. As the election has come to an end, we now have to pick up and move forward, and that's what we're doing. I want to thank the executive committee for the work that we started right after the election. We had our first meeting to discuss next steps. We have a number of elections that are coming up. We have an endorsement process that will include an endorsement actual meeting that will happen in August. So to those of you who are interested in what happens in the various local races that are scheduled to take place in November, the scheduled meeting tentatively is August 18th, a Saturday, followed by a meeting of this full body to do the endorsement Wednesday, the 22nd of August. So please stay tuned for that. We have also issued a request for proposal for the slate card of this body, and we ask
all of the folks that are interested in competing for that to please submit their proposals. I believe they're due mid-July, Adam, and it's on the website, and we want to have a competitive process. And throughout this process, whether it's the slate card or any program that we put together, any member here has the right and opportunity to ask questions, and we're happy to provide it. The last thing that I would add is that we are looking to November not only at the local level, but at the state and national level. We are actually right now in communications with the state party. We're asking to work with us and other groups that are working to take back the House to actually help us open up a space, a physical space in San Francisco. I see the representative for Leader Pelosi, because we're going to ask for help as well, because we want San Francisco Democrats to have the opportunity to actually do something about what's happening at the national level. And we believe that having a space where we as San Francisco Democrats can call not only other swing districts in the state, but also other states, that's important, because it's not just about taking back the House. I mean, that's the bare minimum of what we have to do. Given what happened today with the retirement of Justice Kennedy, we have to take back the Senate if we want to protect Roe v. Wade and some of these other basic protections. So that's what that we're working on. We will keep you posted, and my hope is that the next meeting I'll be able to report that we in fact have identified a space, or at least are close to finalizing the retaining a space, so that beginning in late summer, we can give San Francisco Democrats the opportunity to go and help take back the House and the Senate. And to that end, I want to note that we are also, and you're going to hear more from some of the officers, working to do a fundraising event in August. I ask every San Francisco Democrat to please help us. And I'm going to turn it over to Petra de Jesus, because we're not going to be able to do this work without your help. So with that, on to November. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to hear any thoughts or comments, and I'll open to my colleagues if you have any questions about that work. Okay, we'll now move on to finance. Member de Jesus.
David, so as David just said, we are going to go forward with the dinner. We were looking for the end of July. It might spill a little bit into the first part of April. It's a dinner to raise funds. August, sorry. End of July, so August. We're thinking maybe August 1st, August 2nd, somewhere in there. We're trying to set part of this dinner up for. It's important, we have a walkthrough scheduled this Thursday at 9 a.m. at Atwater Tavern to see if that's a location that we would want for the dinner, and anyone who wants to come can join us this Thursday at 9. Yeah. We're also thinking at the dinner to feature statewide candidates who certainly need a boost, and we're thinking like Tony Thurman, Ricardo Lara, Malia Cohen, the statewide candidates, maybe featuring them at this dinner and giving them an opportunity to speak. We certainly need this. This is a fundraising dinner, and we need this dinner to raise money so we can keep the operation going. And I don't want to offend anybody, but most of us up here ran on a platform and were elected to build this party and turn out the votes and support the democratic principles and platform. And we can't do that without raising funds, so we do need this whole committee to step up and to raise funds and to bring people and to participate in this dinner. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions? We'll now move on to voter registration, and actually Member Baraka is excused tonight. So Adam, do we have anything to report? I know that we had a lot of work during Pride, and a number of people were registered at Pride, so that's good to hear. But we'll go to item D, club chartering, and Member Gupta, who is absent but is here by proxy. Do we have anything to report? No updates at this point. And now, outreach, Member Lacroix.
Hey. I just want to take a moment to recognize, before I get into all my stuff, the members of this DCCC who took on the challenge challenge of running for an office in this general election. It's not an easy thing, so recognizing all of you guys for that. And also publicly congratulating Mayor-elect Breed, Supervisor Cohen, and Supervisor-elect Mandelman for their successful efforts this June. I also want to thank members of this committee who, for their assistance with GOTV efforts for this past June election, joining us early at 7 o'clock in the morning to pass out our slate cards and hanging out at Novel Art Station in the afternoon to hand them out to people as they came home from work. It was not definitely an easy thing, but I appreciate everyone's efforts, especially with all the folks who brought up their babies and their families to these sorts of things. Sorry, we're really tiny. We included the CD Please Play card with ours, and I feel like that made a lot of difference with getting the information out to members. Maybe they were commuting through San Francisco and they lived, across the water in Alameda County. But that way we were able to engage with more California voters, not just folks in San Francisco, and that made all the difference. And so I highly recommend that we continue to include statewide party stuff with our information in the upcoming November election, because the road to November is definitely underway. As I begin to wrap up, I want to encourage everyone in this room to participate there was some activities that Member Maxwell will speak to in just a little bit. And also mark your calendars for June 30th. There are Families Belong Together rallies happening across the country. And so I just want to highlight one happening in San Francisco at Dolores Park at 10 a.m. They are marching to Civic Center for a protest and rally happening from 11 to 1. I plan on stopping by, and I encourage everyone to do the same. You can find more information online. Families Belong Together, so in response to all the detention centers with children and their families being separated.
Now, yes,
Member
Pelosi.
Add to the demonstration, I have a bunch of these signs here. If anybody wants to take them and have them for Saturday, so maybe we can do a photo with them later as well. Let's get it printed up for last Saturday and this coming Saturday. So help yourself, please.
Thank you for doing that. Now to our treasurer, Alexander.
Excellent. So you will see in your packet the federal cash on hand for June, and we did not, if you remember, have the report last month. So the second page is last month's federal cash on hand and state cash on hand. So currently we have $16,243.85 in our federal committee. I'm sorry, we have 1,000. Yeah, that's how much cash in hand we had. Payables out were to our accountants, as you can see. State committee cash on hand is $15,212.17, and again, the state payables, that's our accounting firm. You can see the numbers from last month, and then on the third and fourth sheet, you have a list of all expenses by category year to date.
Members, any questions? Thank you very much. Now to Member Township.
Thank you, sir. Is there a way we can put a slate card in the next month's meeting on this? Cash in, cash out, slate card operations? That's all.
Yeah, I think so.
Any other questions? We'll move on to partnerships. Member Maxwell, I know it's been a busy time.
As was mentioned by our president, there's a lot going on in California. A lot of us have been waiting for after July so that we know exactly what candidates are running in some of the very important races in California, and that's District 10, CD10, California District 10, and 21. And so with our partnerships, we have some wonderful things going on, and there's a lot of people working on this. So I've invited our kind of the coordinator of all of the groups right now, and that's Beatrice von Schultes. And she's from Swing Left, but there's a lot going on in the resistance on starting July 9th. So Beatrice, would you please come forward and tell us what's going on? Yes.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Beatrice Von Berkus. I'm one of the co-leads of Swing Left San Francisco, and we are the local of the National Swing Left organization. And the good news, we need some good news tonight. The good news is that we came out of the California primaries with a Democrat in every single Our Swing Left and all of the area Swing Lefts are focusing mainly on two districts, District 10, as Sophie mentioned, and 21. In District 21, there was only one Democrat and one Republican, so they both made it through the primary. Our Democrat that we will be supporting is TJ Cox, a really wonderful candidate. I'm going to canvass in his district on Saturday. In District 10, it was a nail biter, and it wasn't until a few days ago that we actually knew that Josh Harder is now the Democratic representative in District 10, who will be running against Jeff Denham. So we do have people. More good news, in Stanislaus County, voter registration for Democrats increased by 12% compared to the last primary. In San Joaquin County, the other part of District 10, it increased by 7%. So that is all the good news. The maybe not quite so good news is that in District 10, there still were 5,117 more Republicans who came out to vote than Democrats. So what that means is we need your help. There's just a lot of work to be done to get through the general election and flip the seats that are within driving distance to all of us. What Swing Left is doing, as Sophie mentioned, we were handing these out. I think a lot of you have these sheets. Is we have decided for the July and August to do a big push on recruiting volunteers, re-energizing volunteers, and mobilizing volunteers for the sprint between now and November. We are holding a resist-a-thon with a collection of resistance groups in San Francisco, as well as your organization. The resist-a-thon itself, the idea is a week-long series of events. We're starting out with a party because people are a little burned out. We need to have a little bit of fun. So there will be a party on July 9th where you will be able to sign up for events, bring a friend, get them excited about working. We're not now a year and a half away. We're just talking a few months of help here. That will be at El Rio on Monday, but there are events all week. Tuesday night, we're having a Spanish and English text banking in the evening. Wednesday night, we're having a training class on how to put together a Facebook page with a political message. Thursday night, we're having a Thursday during the day, we're doing voter registration with new citizens in Oakland. Friday, there is another party. It's a fundraiser for Sister District. And Saturday, we will be canvassing for Josh Harder. So if you're excited that we have a Democrat there, come and canvass with me. And Sunday, we will have a phone bank in the city to phone bank into both 10 and District 21. So I really am just here to say there is a lot going on. This is just the start. This is how we're starting off the summer, and I need your help. And I have sign-up sheets to pass around. So,
Chair, I have a question. Are there enough Democrats in District 10 if we were to get them out? Are there enough Democrats to really win?
Yes, there are more Democrats registered Democrats than there are Republicans registered. So that they're not going out to vote in the same numbers that Republicans are. And I think right now, we've got a motivation to get them out to vote.
To answer your question, last time Mr. Dent won by about 3,500 votes with about 100,000 Democrats who didn't vote. And so as I'm listening to the numbers right now, it sounds like it's about the same situation, about 5,000 more Republicans voting, but there's this huge pool of Democrats that are just not voting.
Right, we have, come on up and introduce yourself and us.
I'm Judith Bolger, I'm also co-lead. I wanted to answer that question really quickly. There are 126,000 Democrats registered and 117,000 Republicans registered. So it's up to us to get them motivated to come out and vote.
Well, I just wanted to say, colleagues, this is something that's extremely important and something that we can do something about. And I've been to Modesto, we did something before, and we need more of us to go. It's really eye-opening, and nobody really ever talks to them. And they do open their doors with a baby and a dog in hand, so they do. And I think it would really make a difference if we were to do something like that, to go and make a difference and bring people phone banking. That's something that we should do. That's an action.
And we really want to try to ask you to just ask one person in your life to do it with you. One, if each of us just did one, that I think would do it. We provided 80% of the volunteer hours through the primary in District 10, 80% of it, but we need even more. So I'm going to pass these around here. There is one for the celebration and party, one for the canvassing, and one for the phone bank.
And as David mentioned, these are the organizations and the groups, if you look, that we would be helping to find a place to phone bank and work with. So that's why it's so important that we raise funds and try to be a part of that and help with this.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Maxwell. Now I'm going to encourage you to please sign up. We need as many folks as we can. Now we'll move on to committees, internships. It's also Member Gupta. I don't think that we have anything to report. By the way, for Member Gupta, oh yeah, we do? Oh yes, Member Shea, yes. Francis Shea. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. We'll pretend to be Member Gupta. So our internship program actually started. We kicked it off on the 18th, and today we have all of our interns here. And they actually the march on the 23rd. They also participated in Pride and walked with Lita Pelosi's contingent. And I actually would love for them each to take a minute quickly and introduce themselves and tell y'all a little bit about themselves, because you'll be seeing them at meetings, seeing them at events, seeing them at our outreach activities. If you come to all of our outreach activities, you'll see them and get to know them a little bit better. But if you guys want to start off and just introduce yourselves to the committee.
Hello all, my name is Charlie Obermeyer. I'm one of the interns. I was born in San Francisco and I've lived here my whole life. I'm the son to a very strong working single mother. She put herself through nursing school during the recession, so she was co-fred. I got involved in local advocacy in high school. I'm currently a freshman at CCSF. I've been involved with advocacy since. I was a member of the San Francisco Youth Empowerment Fund, Inspire Youth for Youth Philanthropy. I'm currently a member of the DCYF Oversight Advisory Committee. It's a CAC that oversees the department and attempts to make sure that its policies are in line with the equity lens that the department has committed itself to. I'm really happy to be involved. I'm really happy to get to know everyone. Well, some people at least. No. I'm sorry.
We understand.
Yes,
We understand.
Yes, I'm so long. I'm very sorry. But I'm just really excited. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi everyone, my name is Melinda, and I'm a current high school intern for the SF Democratic Party, as all especially from high schoolers like myself, and pre-registering people to vote, because in California we do have the privilege of being able to pre-register to vote when we're 16 or 17 and being automatically registered when we're 18. So I'm really looking forward to going out to those voter registration ceremonies and registering people who are extremely excited to get involved with local politics. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gabriel. I am pretty new to politics, but I'm not very new to organizing and being part of different clubs at my school for social justice. And I'm just really excited to be here. This is my first kind of interaction with a group like this, and it's really, really exciting. And so I look forward to working more with everyone here.
Yay! Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Scott Becker. I'm a native from the peninsula, born and raised in San Mateo. I'm going to the University of Oregon. I'm double major in political science and history, minoring in Spanish. She got my B-Plan political action interning on Michael Abrams' campaign, season 10, we're talking about as Modesto. And after that, the next year, I went back to Eugene and worked on some school board campaigns in Eugene. And I'm really excited to be here working with San Francisco. It's an awesome city with really cool dynamic issues and dynamic people. And yeah, I'm excited to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ring. I've just finished my second year of university at the University of British Columbia. I've lived in East Bay for 5 years now, and this is my first time that I'm actually venturing into politics, and especially San Francisco politics. But at my university, I've really taken the time to get involved with political clubs and social justice and activism, so I'm happy to continue doing that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maya Zelkin. I am a rising junior at Wellesley College, just outside of Boston. And I'm majoring in political science, minor in cinema and media studies. I want to be an attorney, and so I'm really interested in legal activism, and actually bringing justice and equality to everyone. And but this. I think this election season is really important, and so I wanted to move my focus from law to politics and getting involved on the grassroots level. So I'm really excited to go and actually register voters and get people excited. And so that's why I'm here.
Well, thank you. And just as a point of information, our high school interns are part of the Sue Bierman internship in memory of the late and great Sue Bierman. And our college fellows are part of the Nancy Pelosi Fellowship, and we thank our leader for helping us fund that. And you know, this is the future, and you never know, right? We just had a very young millennial elected to Congress in New York, so you never know. Our future Congress right here. So thank you to Member Gupta and Member Sheikh for the great work. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Ms. And Adam, I just want to note for Adam that this past month has been extremely busy. I mean, the last 3 months have been pretty crazy, and I want to thank Adam for stepping up and working around the clock, weekends, and it's greatly appreciated, Adam. And we don't do enough of thanking you. Not for a lot of money, he gets to do a lot of work, but he believes in it. So with that, Adam, the floor is yours.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the nice words. It's very heartfelt. I have a couple of comments just for tonight. I know that Petra and I will be scheduling a bylaws committee review for July for next month. So folks that are interested in that, I will be emailing the full committee just to let everybody know of that meeting and time and location. So anybody that is interested may come and participate in that process. Like the chair mentioned earlier, the RFP for our slate card for our November election cycle has been posted to the website earlier this month. I believe the due date on that is July 13th. So please get that into me on that, and all information may be found on our website. As well, I wanted to thank Maya for timekeeping tonight and keeping everybody on schedule. And as well, I also wanted to do a thank you to Balam, who was a former intern last year that is providing additional support to me and to this new intern class for any other details that sometimes I might overlook with all the items that are on my plate.
Thank you, Balam.
Thank you. And just a point of information for the slate card, we use the executive committee as the functioning slate card committee, but if any member of the committee would like to participate in that process, please let me or Adam know. We're happy to include anyone who would like to be involved. So with that, we'll move on to item number 6, which is a presentation under Hunters Point Naval Shipyard Cleanup. And we'll turn it over to Member Maxwell.
Thank you, colleagues. I think this was a very important issue to hear from our Congress folks. This issue, when I was elected to the Board of Supervisors, this was the work that I did for most of my time. It was meeting with different generals and naval people from going to Washington, and always there was our Congress people, was Nancy Pelosi, Senator Feinstein. These women were women warriors. We had more money for cleanup than any other municipality. It was a long and tedious work. It was a lot of work from the community. A lot of those people gave their lives, their time, and their effort, weekly, monthly, for years and years. And so I'd like to just kind of get an update from our Congress and our delegation about what's going on, how they're seeing it, and really, for me, I think it is our government and Tetra Tech. This is something that needs to be, we need to know about what's going on. These people are criminals, and we need to find out exactly what's being done about it now and the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Maxwell. And before I start, if I could, these have been some really rough days. And while we're all dealing with assaults on labor, on working families, on our immigrant communities, with the announcement from Justice Kennedy today, so many different things happening, children, of course, getting ripped away from their families, I just want to express how grateful I am to be here with all of you and everybody who's fighting so hard to try and protect the communities that we care about so much, and also just how much hope all of you, our interns and fellows, provide and represent. So thank you for that. First of all, I'm just really grateful to be here with everybody, because it's rough. Anyway, Member Maxwell, thank you. As you know, there's a lot going on in the shipyard. We learned a few months ago that 2 supervisors from the Navy contractor Tetra Tech were convicted and sentenced for what turned out to be very massive fraud. It was based on some complaints brought by whistleblowers. I don't know how many of you are really familiar with the history of the shipyard, but it dates all the way back to 1974 when it was first decommissioned. And during that period of time, there's been tremendous leadership. I know Leader Pelosi would want me to acknowledge the work of Senators Feinstein and Boxer, the work of our many mayors going all the way back, Mayor Willie Brown, Mayor Gavin Newsom, Mayor Ed Lee, and of course the leadership of then Supervisor Sophie Maxwell and now Supervisor Malia Cohen, who have just been on top of this year after year after year. So since 1974, when discussions first began to transfer the shipyard to the city and county of San Francisco, Leader Pelosi, along with her colleagues in Congress, have been able to secure more than $1 billion in funding from the Navy to facilitate the cleanup parcel by parcel. And as you know, the parcels are being conveyed one part at a time. We now on Parcel A have a number of residences, more than 1,000 residences, correct? And there are some serious concerns that the residents have there about the safety of the land that their residents have been built on. And even though there are strong assurances from the Navy and the EPA that that land is safe, Leader Pelosi thought it was very important to call for the rescanning of that parcel to give peace of mind to the residents, for the health and safety of themselves, of their families. But also they've chosen, they're pioneers, they've chosen to make an investment in a brand new community in the city. So we want to make sure that they feel confident in that investment as well. So through the last budget bill, she was able to secure, again, along with working with Senator Feinstein, $42 million in additional funding from the Navy for San Francisco. $6 million of that is going to Treasure Island, and the remaining $36 million are going to fund this rescanning. There's an RFP that's coming out shortly, or I think it's just come out from the Navy, about the plan for them to rescan all of the parcels that were touched by Tetra Tech, basically. She's also called for all of the federal agencies who are doing business with Tetra Tech to reconsider that, to look very seriously at these allegations and what more might be coming out. So, and those funds will also be used in the rescanning of Parcel A. That rescanning is going to be conducted by the California Department of Public Health. It's kind of rescanning that they have done. It's consistent with the scanning they have done at Treasure Island and other similar sites that have the same sort of profile in terms of the naval use or the previous use of that property. So we should expect to see the rescanning of Parcel A to commence sometime, hopefully, or at least the plan to be finished sometime in mid-July, and then shortly thereafter. The rescanning of the other parcels of the shipyard are going to be subject to a public comment period. And again, Leader Pelosi has pushed for the maximum amount of transparency and opportunity for public input from so that members of the community can express their concerns, can examine the plans for rescanning these parcels, and provide input and make sure there are forums for members of the community to be heard. So we have, I think it's a 60-day comment period on that. So once that 60-day comment period closes, it'll take a period of time to ramp up, but we expect everything to be getting underway in the next few months. So, Member Maxwell, is there anything? Generally, hearings are held on the shipyard. There have been some meetings specific to the current residents. The Homeowners Association, they have had meetings there. I know that the California Department of Public Health will be scheduling a briefing specifically for the residents because it's the scanning of the parcel on which they already reside. But they will be happening, if not on the shipyard, in the Bayview community with more than adequate public notice and opportunities for input.
And that would be held by the California, who would conduct them?
Depending on the parcel, if it is Parcel A, then it would be the California Department of Public Health who's conducting the rescanning with funds from the U.S. Department of the Navy. If it is the rest of the parcels on the shipyard, whose safety was called into question because of the massive fraud, again, by Tetra Tech, then those would be conducted jointly by the Navy and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
All right, well, who would be there to make sure that they are friendly to the public? Because I've been in some of those hearings, and they are not always very friendly. They're, they can be very technical and very abrupt. So who's going to make sure that they are going to be held in a way that the public truly believes in them and that can feel that they're supposed to, that the public is wanted, that they want them to be there?
Well, certainly Leader Pelosi's staff will be there. I'm sure we'll have staff from the other federal representatives as these are being conducted. They're generally conducted during the weekend, during times that Congress is in session. I expect I will see Member Maxwell there quite often, and I would encourage everybody who's here who has an interest in the safety and the health of our communities to be there to raise any concerns that you have, to support the community who is in and around the shipyard, to make sure that they are heard. And we'll be having a lot more conversations like this. This is certainly going to be an ongoing process, but it is so important that everybody here gets notice out to the community and tells people that they know who live on the shipyard or may be impacted
these opportunities for comment exist. I'm happy to share them with our chair and with our executive directors so that they can circulate those to the committee.
Thank you, Member Pelosi. And I have a question. If you could explain what rescanning is. I just have an image of a metal detector. And then also I've been reading in some of the articles that Chris Roberts published in SF Current that the community wants a little bit more than rescanning. They said that it doesn't do enough. I'm wondering if you could talk a bit more about that, and then also if during the comment period they're able to secure, if it is in fact, if they are able to have something a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, technical for more in depth than rescanning, if they're able to do that during the comment period.
Yes, well, I can speak definitely to Parcel G and the scanning that's going to be done, conducted by the Navy, and that is going to include trench excavation, surface scans, soil sampling, as well as building scans. We certainly know that this is just the beginning, and that every parcel that's been touched by Tetra Tech will require real extensive scanning. But again, this period of time, while the plan has been put up for public comment, is very important for people to come forward, particularly organizations that have expertise in this area. The plans for the California Department of Public Health are still being developed right now, but they will be conducting scans that will be able to penetrate below the surface. As you know, because there has been a lot of construction there, and because of the excavation that's happened, a lot of the surface soil down relatively deep has been removed and has been replaced with new soil. It's been replaced with landscaping, hardscape, mulch, other things like that too. So there's been a lot of removal there. So it's a different kind of testing protocol, but it's appropriate or it's in line with testing that the California Department of Public Health has conducted on similarly classified sites across the state, including Treasure Island.
Could you just briefly, what's the difference between A and G, parcel A and G?
Parcel A, in its historical use, has been housing, and it has not historically had the type of industrial activities, interaction with radiological materials that has happened on the rest of the shipyard. So that is that was a characterization that was made many years ago, and was the reason that Parcel A was conveyed to the city first. Back in, it was 2005, right? I remember that was the same day that we learned that there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, so that was an interesting news day as well. So that parcel was conveyed, declared safe for transfer. Again, there are continued assurances from the Navy and from EPA that they are safe, but out of an abundance of caution and in response to the concerns of the community and to give them peace of mind, Leader Pelosi pushed very hard for them to be rescanned. And also, it's important to note that Parcel A is not a parcel that was ever touched by Tetra Tech, the contractor that, again, perpetrated massive fraud. Yes, G was touched by Tetra Tech, so.
Thank you very much, and colleagues, we will be having updates periodically. Thank you.
Okay, just if we could just maybe take another couple of minutes because we want to move on. Just go ahead.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Thank you very much. Just on behalf of Senator Dianne Feinstein, I wanted to say that she is working with both the Navy and the EPA to ensure that Parcel G and Parcel A are tested quickly and as independently as possible. She wants retesting and wants to assure the current and future residents of their safety, and is coordinating with the city and just wants to make this right.
Thank you. And I want to thank Member Maxwell for asking this item to be on the agenda. We're going to continue to bring it back. There are many of our folks, many Democrats that are affected by this, and I can tell you as a former member of the Board of Supervisors who voted to approve this project, none of us who voted for this project would have voted for it if we had known what we know today. So this is very important, and we will continue to keep you updated. And thank you to Senator Feinstein and to Leader Pelosi for their leadership.
Mr. Chair, I have copies of Pelosi's releases as well as the letter that she had written to the Navy and the EPA calling for the rescanning of parcel A as well as maximum transparency, so we can pass these around as well.
Thank you. And we don't want to lose our quorum, so we're going to move the meeting forward. The next item, and we have about 5 minutes estimated to take for this item, is a presentation on the Affordable Housing Act of 2018, which is a state measure. And so we have a speaker, and if you can just keep it to a couple minutes, and we'll take any questions. Thank you for waiting. I look forward to hearing from you.
I'm happy to wait. My name is Susie Shannon. I'm a member of the Democratic National Committee, and I've served on the California Democratic Party Executive Board for over 11 years. Most importantly, though, I work with homeless and low-income communities in Los Angeles, and I'm asking you to join with me, along with AFSCME Local 3299, California Teachers Association, Unite Here Local 11 and 2050, UFCW Local 770, American Federation of Teachers, CNA, Teachers and Allied Trades Local 36, several elected officials, including Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones, Senator Ricardo Lara, my fellow DNC member and Mayor Eric Garcetti in Los Angeles, and over 100 organizations who work with seniors, low-income communities, homeless communities, Western Center on Poverty, Senior Disability Action, California Association of Retired Americans, ACE Action, and together several Democrats, including over 150 of our executive board members, over half of our regional directors, over 3/5 of our caucus chairs, including Christine Pelosi is the head of our Women's Caucus, our Seniors Caucus, Disabilities Caucus. And the reason that I'm giving you this long laundry list is because the opposition is also claiming to represent these communities, which they are not. This is all, we are all together in a huge coalition of labor and nonprofit organizations in support of the Affordable Housing Act. And what this actually does is to repeal Costa-Hawkins and allow cities and counties to enact rent control laws. So since 1995, this law has been in effect, and it basically means that new units that are built or come online have not been able to be rent controlled, which you probably know because you live in San Francisco where the rents are really too damn high. We are just asking, it doesn't mean that every city and county will be enacting rent control laws, it just means that they have the power now to do that and to ask on behalf of their constituents. I'm in Los Angeles where we have over 50,000 people who are homeless in our county, and over here it's about 7,400. There are huge problems. Something is really wrong. When I could go to a rally today because of the Janus decision in favor of hotel workers, listen to a woman tell us that she lives in a bachelor apartment with 7 other people here in San Francisco because the wages are too low and the rent is too high, and she basically is overworked. And this is happening, in cities throughout California, but it's also happening in rural counties as well. So we have the rural caucus chair, several county chairs in rural counties who are supporting this measure. Many of you know there's over 200,000 people who face eviction in California every year. Rents have gone up statewide about 21%, and wages have gone down 8%. And I'm just asking you to please support this. I know this is San Francisco and that you know how high the rents are and how difficult it is for people. I have many, many statistics, but I think the upshot of this is that people are really suffering. People are being evicted. I have a client who is a single mom whose daughter has a feeding tube who is living in a motel right now because they can't afford to move into an apartment. So I'm just pleading with you to please support this. I'm coming here tonight because the executive board of the California Democratic Party will be taking this up for endorsement. And several of your executive board members who are on the board, like David and
So is the ask that we recommend to the executive board of the state party that they support this?
Yes, that would be
That's the ask. So colleagues, member Kalat, is that a motion?
Yes, I'd just like to move that we support this. So, or the party of the California Democratic Party to support this.
So we have a motion by member Galata, we have a second by member De Jesus. Colleagues, any questions? Yes, member Alioto.
I just want a clarification when you say this, is it cost of occupants?
Is ballot measure.
Which is the affordable housing act. Great. I want to make sure because that's the.
So the measure would essentially overturn Costa-Hawkins and would give jurisdictions, local jurisdictions, the authority to have rent control.
Exactly.
Okay. So you, by voting yes, you are voting to recommend to the state party that they support and endorse this measure. So if we can do a roll call, or do we need to, actually, let's just do this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, opposed, member Jung. Any abstentions? Member Feinstein abstained. Great.
Thank you so much. I
One
so
more?
appreciate this.
So one abstention, Feinstein, and one opposition. Jung, it passes.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to another important item, which is the Water Supply and Water Quality Act of 2018. This is also a measure that will be considered by the executive board of the state party. And to present on this important measure is Mateo. So Mateo, we are scheduled to take about 10 minutes for the item, so if you can take some time to present, and we'll then take any questions. And again, thank you for waiting. I know it's been a long meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me here. It's been very informative. I'm not from San Francisco, so I've learned quite a bit. So the Water Supply and Water Quality Act of 2018 is a water bond that is going to be on the November ballot this year. California has a long history of water bonds. There have been about 23 in the last 50 years or so, and 22 of them have passed. They're really the main mechanism in investing in our watersheds, investing in our water supply and our water quality. And this bond is really important. It's supported by a very broad coalition because it is the largest environmental bond in history. It has nearly $4 billion in environmental funding, including $200 million coming right back here to the SFA Restoration Authority. It also, explicitly has language banning funding going to the Delta tunnels, and it doesn't provide funding for new dams across the state. So what it tries to do is increase investment in what we call soft water supply, so things that help local agencies, local projects, and ones that don't have these massive infrastructure projects that run across the state. And so this measure has been endorsed by a number of groups, over 75 environmental organizations, including Save the Bay, which is a huge advocate in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we have David Lewis here from the Save the Bay, been a big advocate, as have all of these other environmental groups. And the San Francisco Board of Supervisors also unanimously endorsed this yesterday. This is really important for local agencies and local environmental groups. These water bonds kind of fall below the surface because there are some important initiatives coming up in November, Costa-Hawkins, the gas tax, a lot of stuff that's going to take a lot of energy, but what we need to realize is that there are a lot of environmental projects around the state, right here in the Bay Area, that are funded through these water bonds. And a lot of these local groups, this is how they get things done. And so, yeah, we love it if the San Francisco Central Committee would recommend endorsement to the full board, because the CPP will be taking this up for endorsement in a few weeks.
Well, thank you very much for the very thorough presentation. One thing that I would say is that I really appreciated all the information that we received. State by Bay has been very thorough in this, and so I'm very appreciative of that. And for so many of us who know California politics, state politics, water is a big issue, and this is a very important step in the right direction. So colleagues, yes, Member Alioto.
Hi, are you going to be participating in all in Governor Jerry Brown's seminar that's September 14th, 15th, and 16th here?
have to check with our campaign director.
Would
But,
you, because that would be a good place for you to be able to spread the word. It's an international, and there's gonna be 100,000 people here. Let's just spread the word about this issue.
perfect, I appreciate it.
Thank you, colleagues. Member De Jesus.
I'd like to make a motion that I move that we support this water supply and water quality act of 2018. Second, the power of the executive board.
So we have a second, the member Galata. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Member Feinstein abstains. Thank you very much. You have the support.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you again for waiting. Now we move on to another important measure, item number 9, which is a presentation on Consumer Privacy Act of 2018. And they're also asking for a resolution in support. And I know that Marissa has been traveling from Sacramento to get here. Before I turn it over to you, I know that Member Groff had requested to put this item on the agenda. So before I turn it over to you, I'm going to turn it over to Member Groff, and maybe we can take 5 to 10 minutes for this item. Member Groff. And thank you, Marissa, for waiting.
Thank you, and thank you so much for traveling down from Sacramento to be here with us today. This is definitely an important issue that's been on the minds of a lot of people, especially with the Equifax and Cambridge Analytica scandals. From my understanding, what this measure would do is provide the private right of action in certain unauthorized access to allow consumers to take control over their data. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about your presentation.
Yes, that's I'm going to just start these over here.
I also passed around the pages as well. Yes.
Okay, great.
I got it.
Okay, never mind. Good paper. Well, hello, thank you for having me. Good evening. My name is Marissa, and I am from the California Consumer Privacy Act from Sacramento. And what this initiative is it gives you 3 major privacy regulations to take back control of your personal and private information. With everything that's been going on recently, the Equifax hack, the Yahoo hack, and most commonly known, the Facebook hack, our data is at risk more now than ever so before. So what this initiative would do is it would hold companies accountable for your information by doing 3 major things. It would give you the right to know what information is being sold about you, and give you the power to say, don't sell my data, if you so wish. It's an opt-out opportunity to tell corporations, the data brokers, to not sell your data. So those are the 3 major things that it does, and it will hold companies accountable by having them implement reasonable security measures to prevent data breaches from happening. So that's how it works. It's more important now, like I said, because these keep occurring in our information. There's no regulations right now to stop it from being sold. It just simply gives us the power to take back our information and say, don't sell my data if you so choose. Do you have any questions?
Colleagues, yes, Member Spear and then Member Weiner, and they walk over and give you the mic.
Mr. Chairman, I haven't had a chance to speak to Councilwoman Spear about this, but I'm going to be voting in favor of it tonight because this is one of her most important issues. And I have to say, I'm not sure what the status is in the legislature, but when Congresswoman Spear did her personal privacy legislation, which at the time the business community uniformly opposed, the only way she was able to get that through the legislature is to actually, in parallel, run an initiative and to threaten to run an initiative, which is what is going on in this particular case. There's still negotiations, as I understand, going on up in the legislature. Tomorrow is the last day to get the initiative on the ballot.
Yep.
And if they don't come to a deal, I gather they didn't come to a deal?
No, tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so it's really important that we send a very strong message that this is going to pass overwhelmingly in California if they don't get their act together and do it through the legislative process. as is true then, now I think the proponents would prefer this be done through the legislative process.
Absolutely, yes.
Because it's much more flexible and everything like that. But nonetheless, a good shot across the bow is an excellent warning sign for everybody, and so we would urge your support for this measure.
Yes.
Agreed. Brian said exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you. And that's one point that I wanted to note, that there is a possibility that this measure is no longer necessary. There may be legislative action, but I think, as was noted, if we send a very strong message tonight, that's more likely to make that legislative action a reality. I know a member of the Jesus had a question.
So I definitely support this concept, but one of the criticisms, and you tell me if it's true, I don't know, but one of the criticisms is it allows an individual right to sue for every consumer. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but the criticism that might be unwieldy if every California starts suing. And I'm for this, and David just said I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, but I just don't know if that's true.
That's a general concern, and it's a little bit more refined than that, because if they have, you can take, for instance, you can take Equifax to court if you had, if you can prove that they were negligent with your data and they have suffered from it, suffered in a way like identity theft. So it's not just you've broken the law, you have to have a right. Yes, reasonable time.
Great, thank you. Any other?
Just want to point out, if you don't put a private right of action in your initiative, you will not force the powers of people to actually negotiate with the legislature. That is the one thing that causes them to seriously negotiate, and it's exactly the way that we have to do it.
Hopefully our plaintiff's lawyer understands that.
Great.
Thank you very much. So is there a motion? We have a motion supported by Member Spear, seconded by Member Weiner. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Member Feinstein. Thank you very much. So you have our support, and hopefully this will be necessary, but you have it if it is. Colleagues, if we can go back to item number 7, one of our members asked if she could change her vote. And I don't know if for a parliamentarian, if that just requires a whole new vote or simply a change for that purpose. What's the process for doing that? Can we rescind the vote? And yes, Member Topshay.
The ruling, from what I understand, is if it doesn't change the outcome, you can change the vote.
Okay. So I don't think it changes the outcome unless there's any objection. My understanding is that Member Jung wants to abstain on item number 7. Unless there's any objection, I'm going to allow that. Yes, Member Ting.
No objection, but I'm sorry, the rest of them I didn't realize that there was a vote that I had missed apparently, so, on item 7.
Okay. Unless there's any objection, I'm going to allow the change from no to abstention. And
take an abstention as well.
An abstention from Ting as well. If we can now go on to item number 10, and this is an item that has been put forward by Member Galata, a resolution affirming the San Francisco Democratic Party support for ranked choice voting. As Member Alioto noted, she was one of the candidates in the ranked choice election that we just had in San Francisco. I actually have written extensively on this in the last few weeks, and I'm grateful to Member Galata for his resolution. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Campos. And I'm just going to make a few brief remarks, and then I'm happy to pass it over to the co-sponsors of this resolution and any members who'd like to chime in. But first, I want to acknowledge and thank Brandon Harami from the Richmond District Democratic Club for bringing forward this resolution to the body. And I want to thank as well Pedro Hernandez from Fair Vote California, both of whom gave public comment on this item. And I just also want to acknowledge Fair Vote for their incredible work this election cycle to really educate voters around, not just in San Francisco, but the Bay Area and California on ranked choice voting. I think that's really important. And they have actually brought some information tonight that I want to share with committee members and with the public, which is just kind of a snapshot of the 2018 San Francisco mayoral election. So I will circulate this. But I'm introducing this resolution tonight because I think it's important for us to continue to support the voting system that the voters of San Francisco selected at the ballot box in 2002. And certainly there's a lot of critics and cynics around ranked choice voting, and certainly it's often this issue comes up where we start looking at our election systems when we don't necessarily get the outcome that we might want. But I think ranked choice voting is, its merits really outweigh its shortcomings, and I think it's a fair system that has been successful for both voters and for representation. And some of the statistics were kind of mentioned by Pedro and by Brandon in their comments, public comment. But it's not only reduced costs, obviously, for taxpayers, but it's also reduced the need for candidates to contribute additional money for a runoff election. It's reduced negative campaigning and fostered greater collaboration amongst candidates. And I think this election, particularly as you'll see in the handout, it's helped drive voter turnout. And we definitely saw that in June. It also encourages a more diverse candidate pool, not only of folks' personal identity, but also, I think, political ideology. And I think that's healthy, and it also turns voters out when they feel like there's candidates running who represent their values. And I think most of note, I think, is the fact that it's led to a significant increase in representation at both district and citywide levels for women and people of color. And in San Francisco, 18 offices are elected using ranked choice voting, and currently 13 of them are held by office holders of color. And as Pedro mentioned, people of color have gone from winning 2 of 5 elections to 3 of 5 elections in the 4 Bay Area cities with ranked choice voting. And also another, I think, interesting fact to note, for us in San Francisco, our voters get ranked choice voting now, right? It has been in play and in practice for a while. And in this June election, the mayor's race, we saw 86% of voters used at least 2 rankings, and nearly 70% of voters used all 3. So that to me is significant. This is a system that people understand and are utilizing. So it's cut out. With that, my time is up. I just want to say I congratulate Mayor-elect London Breed on her victory, and I'm looking forward to us continuing ranked choice voting moving forward, especially this November. We have another election, and want to challenge the party to continue to educate voters in San Francisco about ranked choice, and just hope to have the body support tonight.
Thank you. As you know, I've actually written a couple of times since the election, and including, by the way, before we actually knew the outcome, to make it clear that I support this process. No system is perfect, and I actually think that some of the challenges that we've seen with the count have to do more with what actually happens in the Department of Elections than the system itself. Some of the challenges with how long it takes to vote, to count some of these ballots, are unrelated to ranked choice voting, and we do need to address them, but it's not because of the system. And the last point that I would note before I turn over to another co-sponsor is that for me, it really is about voter participation. And what happens when you have a general election and then a runoff is that there is a significant drop in the percentage of individuals that vote in that runoff. And And by having the runoff essentially this, prior to, at the same time as you have the election, you ensure the maximum level of participation. There are always things that you can do better. We can certainly and should think about that. But I think that this system works well for San Francisco, and I hope that we retain it. And that's why I think it was important to be out there talking about in a very concrete way the benefits of it. So with that, I'll turn it over to another co-sponsor, member Francis Shea.
I'm okay. I think you guys have said everything.
Great. With that, colleagues, any, yes, member Tom Shea.
So, hold on.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to some great advocacy for ranked choice voting. I understand very much that you support it, you love it, you think it's a great solution for San Francisco electoral politics, but I remember voting on this in 2002 as a member of the DCCC, and I didn't like ranked choice voting then, and I don't like it anymore today. I will say I will support that with a couple of things. There were some assertions made that voter turnout drops in general elections and runoff elections. 1991, Jordan versus Agnos, runoff. Total participation went up from the general election. I'm looking at my dates now because I'm dating myself. Amiano versus Brown. What year was that? Runoff. Total votes went up again in the runoff from the general election. Gonzalez versus Newsom, 2003. The general election increased, the runoff increased over the general election. The facts bear out that when San Franciscans care, they vote. They vote every single time, and generally they get it right in this town. Sometimes not, but generally they get it right. There's a nice balance in this city that we've all enjoyed. This pendulum swings left and right is just where I'm at. It's moderate Democrat, and it's fine. It doesn't go far right. It just goes to moderate. No big deal. We can all live with that, I think. So, whether you agree with ranked choice voting or not, I understand that the supporters here are trying to, create some support for it because it just didn't quite work out well, public relations-wise. It didn't become instant enough. It was confusing. Two candidates really gamed the system in a way that never had been done before, almost successfully too, and that is within the rules. Completely great that they did that, okay, for the first time, and proved that, you could create a coalition to try to win one or the other, and, you could do that, great. But at the end of the day, there are so many people who are still confused about it, and all of us who are involved in politics must have been asked by a lot of people, how are my votes going to determine the outcome? What ranking should I put it down? Can I vote for one candidate 3 times? Will my vote be invalidated? How does this work? Okay, so yeah, it's not perfect. You said it. It's the system we have. I think my gut tells me that if an election were to be held next week on ranked choice voting in San Francisco, it would be overturned. We'd go back to our standard system of voting. Because remember, ranked choice voting, although it's not perfect, does not always create the best outcome. It created the outcome in District 4, which gave us Supervisor Ed Ju, who was not properly vetted because he didn't even actually live in the district that he was running for. And that didn't come to light because he was not a top-tier candidate who was in the mix. He was a lower-ranked candidate who kind of snuck in through ranked choice voting, the new system, and then we all know the story that happened after that. He wasn't properly vetted. And San Francisco paid the price for that. So I'll be voting no. I hope you'll join me. If not, maybe next time. Thanks for your time.
Peter, you can make almost anything sound great. You really can. You're a great advocate. it, you should be a trial lawyer, and law firms open anytime you're interested to do civil rights. You made that sound just great, like everything really works out really well. I have to tell you from someone who literally was boots on the ground. I was sick and tired of trying to explain it to everybody. Nobody understood it. Nobody did. Before, during, and after. People just don't understand it, and they want to figure out, well, what happens to Mark Leno's second votes? Where do those go? Or if Jane Kin had stayed in, maybe she would have gotten high enough where she passes Mark by one vote, and the second vote then gets her up. Mark's second vote gets her up. There are a lot of, it was really weird, because Jane conceded, and that's not part of IRB, and everybody got thrown off by it. I'm just saying that it was really a weird feeling, and then to have those 5 or 6 or 7 days where numbers kept coming in, whereas in a regular campaign, you get the number, you're in or you're out. It's also what's happened after having boots on the ground this time is everybody is voting at home. And those ones have been crazy mailers, and a lot of them. But people gathered them up, saved them, and read them, and voted from home. And that makes a major, major, major difference in IRB, and or whether or not there's going to be a runoff, and whether or not there's going to be more money spent in the runoff. My opponents in this race all spent more than $3.5 million. That's up $9 million while people are dying in the streets. So, it really didn't save any money, and it was extremely confusing to so many people. It took time, and everybody's going to start voting from home. So, though I really appreciate your advocacy, and I'd almost vote yes on it just because of you, but I just can't after what I just went through because it was so confusing for so many people.
Member Tank.
So first of all, I want to lead off by actually, I can make a segue to my, with my boss. We just had a budget signed this morning by Governor Brown, and in that budget, we have a budget, first of all, but in that budget, we have $134 million to Secretary of State for counties to replace and upgrade voting systems. And we are encouraging counties to research and develop voting systems and can apply for reimbursement if those systems are by the Secretary of State deemed to be workable for future elections. And there could be pilot programs that could be. So stay tuned, folks. We're talking Department of Elections, and people across the state might be trying to try different things. But what I want to say is I'm glad to hear there's going to be more rankings, because for example in Maine, they just had their primaries by ranked choice voting. They can vote every candidate, rank every candidate, not just 3. And it's good to hear that, because that's also something maybe some people would see as stumbling block. But the main issue about the time these count votes is that we make it so much easier to vote here in California. You can mail your ballot on election day, and all it does a postmark and gets it by Friday, they can count it. So ballots are coming in by Friday. The Department of Elections across up and down the state. In Orange County, the opponent for Rohrabacher, we didn't know who it was because there was a very tight race between 2 Democrats, and votes were coming in. It was a double digit, 65 votes or whatever the difference was. So the issue is it is frustrating to see the amount of time it takes to count votes, but we've made it so, we've given so many different options. I have friends in other states that, well, I couldn't get an election day, I couldn't vote. I didn't have an excuse, I couldn't, or if you didn't have an excuse, or you didn't get your excuse in early enough to get a ballot, or, all these different things that make it hard to vote. But now we can, in San Antonio County, everyone got mailed a ballot because of the Voter Choice Act, which is a new pilot program where in a few counties around the state, everyone got mailed a ballot. We've seen that also increase time. So just to stop there, but just to say that I understand the frustrations that we were all waiting for the results, but it's not ranked choice that's the reason why it takes us time to get results, because the ranked choice program actually run pretty quickly. So, but we want to keep modernizing voting in California, making it easier to vote in California. I think that we need to focus on that.
So I know we have strong opinions on both sides of this issue. We have a motion on the item. So we have a motion by Delata, second by De Jesus, to approve the resolution. Why don't we do a roll call vote, because there may be more views on this.
Member Alexander?
Yes.
Member Aliotto?
Out.
Member Campos.
Yes.
Member Chan.
Yes.
Member De Jesus.
Yes.
Member Dufty.
Yes. Sorry, Proxy.
Member Galata.
Yes.
Member Groth.
Yes.
Member Gupta.
Yes.
Member Francis Shea is a yes. Member Tom Shea.
No.
Member Jung.
No.
Member Kim.
Yes.
Member Lacroix.
Yes.
Leviton is out. Member Lowe.
She's here.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a yes. Thank you.
Sorry.
She's been here.
She has. Member Lowe.
Yes.
Member Mahogany.
Yes.
Member Mandolin.
Yes.
Member Maxwell.
Staying.
Member Norton. Member Feinstein.
No.
Pelosi.
First choice is yes.
Spear.
Abstain.
Ma.
Abstain.
Wiener.
Yes.
Ting.
Yes.
And Chu. There are 19 yeses, 4 noes, 3 abstentions. Resolution passes.
The resolution passes. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to another very important and timely resolution, and I'll turn it over to the chief sponsor, Peter Galata, a resolution condemning the Trump administration's practice of separating immigrant families.
Thank you, Chair Campos. I'm a little tired, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm really sick and tired of this shit that's happening at the national level. Just to be frank, and I imagine everyone around this table is, just the callousness, the cruelty, and the unabashed racism. Because I think, let's be real, if there were white families or babies coming across the border, this would not be happening. So we really just need to, sorry. Thank you. I'm still recovering from Pride Weekend, apparently. So we are clearly up against an administration that doesn't care for our values, for our community. We know that. But this just, everything seems to be crossing even another line. Everything that is coming out, that is happening now with the Supreme Court, it's just, we are losing so much ground that we have fought for. And right now, I think we really need to speak truth to power. This notion of civility absolutely went out the door when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, because he is one of the least civil people we have ever seen in the White House. So I do think we need to call things out and speak truth. And tonight I feel it strongly that we as a body take a position. We call this out, we condemn these actions. I want to acknowledge Senator Feinstein and some of the Democratic congressional leadership for introducing legislation, the Keep Families Together Act, to try to put a stop to what the Trump administration is doing at the border and to immigrant families. We need that legislation. We need, I don't know the current status in terms of when we might see action on that. But I do think it's important for us to urge action and more action from Congress, from Democrats, and from Republicans, because I think this is a stain and a shame for them as well, what is happening. So I did want to obviously defer to other colleagues and co-sponsors, but also allow Senator Feinstein to speak to the legislation if they would like.
Do you want to say something before we go to anyone else? No?
She just wanted to ask to be a co-sponsor for this resolution tonight.
Thank you. I'm gonna, before I turn it over to folks, I know that Member Spear, Member Pelosi want to speak. I've talked about this. This is a very personal issue for me. I've been very open about the fact that I came here. My parents brought me here as an undocumented kid. But few people probably knew that when we finally made it in 1985, that was the second attempt on the part of my family to come to this country. There was an initial attempt back in 1981 when I was 11. And we were apprehended near Chula Vista, California, which is near San Diego. And I actually was in one of these detention centers. And, people go out of the way to talk about how they're detention centers. But as you can imagine, for any kid, an 11-year-old kid, it was a jail, it was a prison. And, it's actually something that really stays with you for the rest of your life. And in a way, I was lucky that I was older than some of these kids. I've been hearing a lot about how when you go through this kind of trauma as a 2 or 3-year-old or 1-year-old, the damage is even greater. But I can tell you, as an 11-year-old, it was really scary being in what essentially was a cell, right? And the fact that I was there with my dad in the men's facility made it easier. My 2 sisters were 5 and 2, and they were there with my mom. And, I just cannot imagine what it would have been like for any of them to be in a cell by yourself without your parent. And when you really think about how is it that the Trump administration gets to this point that they think that they can get away with this. How does that even happen, right, in 2018? And I think that underlying that is this sense that these aren't necessarily humans, that they're other, right? Because you can't put a 2-year-old in a cage if you think they're human. And that really is what it comes down to for me, right? The humanization of people because of what they look like. And it's just the way that immigrants are being talked about, right? We're criminals. We're something other than people. Infestation, right? That's what it comes down to, right? And at some point, I think that there's a point in history where you have defining moments. And this, to me, is a defining moment for our country. Who are we? Are we, at the end of the day, the kind of country that puts a 2-year-old in a cell? And so that's why this is so important. I don't know that I can be objective on this issue because of my own experience, but I think that when it comes to something like this, it really goes beyond the pale, and this is the time to act. And so I'm very proud and grateful to Peter and to everyone, and really ask you that we speak with one voice around this issue. So with that, I'll turn it over to Member Spear.
Chair Campos, that was extremely moving. Congresswoman Spear went to McAllen, Texas over the weekend. In fact, she didn't make the Pride Parade because she arrived in the wee hours of the morning in order to get back. But she saw the children and she saw the living conditions. And we hear all of these things, and you have to ask yourself, why won't they allow pictures to come out of these institutions? It's because they're ashamed. They're terrified of what would happen if pictures came out. So all we have is these 2 audio tapes that have come out. Those alone are terrifying enough. But what she described to me was the sound of the children and the adults in one of these facilities sleep on concrete floors. And they're covered not by blankets, but by acetate, really. The mylar blankets that we hand out after a hurricane, because allegedly this is some sort of emergency. Of course, it's a human-created emergency, not a godlike emergency. And the conditions, no matter what the number, I had people calling our office to say that the children obviously weren't in bad shape because there were toys, or there were jungle gyms, or whatever there was. And I had to sit there and just bite my tongue to the point of needing surgery Because all you have to do is follow history and see that every act of abomination and dehumanization begins with, this picture-perfect scene of children with bouncy balls and the rest of it, until all of a sudden the children aren't there. Why aren't they there? Because the society dehumanized them, treated them as an infestation, exactly as you said, and then found some way to just eliminate them. In our case, we haven't gone that far, thank God. And we won't if the court system holds up, and if we can get enough sunshine onto these people, he won't get away with it. But he's already missing the children. We've already got children that probably, for a long time, if ever, won't be reunited. And that in itself is just inexcusable. And what's really needed at this point is a lot of legal resources, because every child and every adult should have representation, not only in that case, but in all these cases. Just prior to her going down McAllen, we went to the immigration courts here in San Francisco, and we watched a couple of those hearings, and she's going to go back to those as well. But this is an intensely individual circumstance kind of case. Every case is different. Every case has its own story. But even what you're seeing, we're focused on the children right now. They're denying asylum seekers at the border. There are women and children sleeping in the Tijuana River in sewage because they can't actually even find room at the door to get a place. They're not even being allowed to make application, and that's guaranteed under international law. Under international law. So, this is a moment when members of Congress have to step up and go to these facilities and to draw attention to them when the press has to. I have to say, if you ever wonder whether there's a difference between Republicans and Democrats nationally, make no mistake about it. Take a look at pollingreport.com and take a look at the difference of opinion on this matter. 55% of Republicans thought that this was okay, nationally. Now, 2/3 of Americans thought that it was shameful, but 55% of Republicans thought it was okay, ladies and gentlemen. So if ever you feel like there's no difference between a Republican and a Democrat, sorry, look at the polls. So thank you for articulating your story, and keep the children in our prayers.
Thank you, Brian. Also, I just wanted to respond to Peter's question. There are 48 co-sponsors currently in the Senate bill, and when the bill was introduced in the House on the 20th, there were 190 Democrats who had signed on to that in the House as original co-sponsors. So no Republicans in either chamber, by the way. As Brian mentioned, Leader Pelosi also did visit the border along with members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. They held a shadow hearing on the border, and I have, if anybody's interested, copies of her remarks when they introduced the Keep Families Together Act at the shadow hearing. Some of you may have seen that she had said during her press conference, "Come near our cubs, you got a problem, we consider these all our children." So she feels very strongly about this as well. She's also held hearings, or did a press conference recently on the long-term health impacts on these children who are separated by their families. As you probably know, there's been some groundbreaking research done here in San Francisco by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris about the impact of exposure to toxic stress on children in terms of their cognitive development and their social skills and their mental health and their physical development. So these impacts are all very deep and real. And I want to thank our chair for bringing a very personal dimension to that, because I think it's something that everybody needs to know and hear. And just today, Leader Pelosi had sent a letter to Speaker Ryan requesting a bipartisan briefing for the House of all the agencies that are responsible for reuniting these families, to have them answer questions from members of Congress that I'm sure so many of us have in terms of the treatment, the credentials of the people who are overseeing these processes, and what lengths they are going to bring these families back together. So please add Leader Pelosi as co-sponsor of this resolution, and thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something? To both of you, I do not understand how they can't find parents for these children. Who does this administrating?
No, it starts at the very moment when the family is picked up and someone fails to put down on a piece of paper that says a child in harm. That's exactly where it starts. And from that point, that child legally, under the way they operate, is an unaccompanied minor, because some screw up on a piece of paper and fail to note that child is there.
And so because of that screw up, there are literally children in Boston and people and parents in Texas who can't find the children in Boston.
They've been deported. So there's an unaccompanied, from the perspective of law, an unaccompanied minor in America and a mom in Guatemala.
So who's in charge of that administration that does the misfiling?
Donald Trump.
No, but what agency? What agency? Homeland Security is doing that. Oh, okay. Homeland
Well,
Security.
actually, the one that Homeland Security separates them, and then HHS compounds the problem by not trying to find them.
And so there can't be some kind of auditing of both those agencies and finding these children?
It's going for that's what's going on.
All right, thanks very, very much. Great reports, thank you.
Just one more thing, you probably have heard news reports about the potential of the site in Campbell being used for this purpose as well. I know that both Congressman Spear, both Congressman Spear and Peter Pelosi are working closely with Congressman DeSaulnier's office in his district and are talking with them regularly about what's happening out there. There have been certainly people going out and protesting.
The 47,000 people, that was rejected this afternoon. The location was rejected.
Oh,
It's not coming. Yeah, they're not coming. I can't imagine the boycotting that would occur. 47,000 people.
So, yes, Member Alexander.
So I just wanted to thank the sponsors and thank our congressional delegation for your reports and your support on this important issue. The way the rhetoric about taking away the innocence of these children is something that is so frightening. The rhetoric around they look so innocent, but they're not. That is, from a historical perspective, from a humanitarian perspective, so deeply terrifying. And if any equation with immigrant and criminal feeds into this at any level and is truly dangerous, and we're in dangerous times. And so I want to thank the sponsors of this resolution, the authors of this resolution, for bringing this forward. But I do, that is one of the most terrifying quotes that I have seen around trying to take away the innocence, like Donald Trump saying, trying to take away the innocence of these children and saying these children are not innocent. They look innocent, they're not innocent. That is just terrifying to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's also important to remember that when we talk about criminals, there is drug running across the border. We all understand that. But what was released by USA Today over the weekend was a memo, an email internal in San Diego that from the AG's department, basically, down there, saying, hey, look, you've told us to prosecute every person who crosses the border. It's a misdemeanor offense to cross the border if it's prosecuted that way. You can go down one path or the other, misdemeanor or just civil. And in fact, they were having to ignore the drug running. They were having to drop prosecutions of their major drug runners in order to pick up some person that's just going to walk across the border and perhaps become a busboy. So, the hypocrisy of it is just galling. And the fact is that it increases the danger to the public when you just try to pick up everybody and you don't have any discretion given to the folks that are actually in charge.
The one thing that I would say, because I think it's horrible that Trump is doing this, but if you turn on Fox News, right? Actually, first of all, very little coverage about this. And the times that folks on Fox News have talked about it, they talk about it how these aren't our children, right? These aren't children in Iowa, so it's okay. And that's why this is so important. So, and by the way, that 87, even after all of this has happened, 87% of Republicans still approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. So that tells you the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So we can have a motion to support this resolution. Motion by, Spear and Wiener. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we'll go on to new business. This is an opportunity to bring any item. Member Tomczyk.
Could we please calendar the item Mr.
response to Member Wiener's request, that is a planned topic for the next leadership circle, which is where all the club presidents and treasurers and leadership are invited, and there is a training. So that is a planned topic.
And it's happening before the November slate cards?
Yes. I don't know that we have a date yet, but it's, I mean, it's a regularly reoccurring meeting every couple of months. And I did want to request that the copy of the resolution that it's sent around condemning recent Supreme Court decisions also be calendared, and in addition, hopefully, the executive committee can also have something in the interim. But I think it's important for us to still do that, and don't forget to stay around for a picture.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
You know, with all that's going on and the nightmare that's going on, and today with the Supreme Court of the United States of America, believe me, that is one of the worst things that has happened, obviously, aside from children being in cages. The Supreme Court becoming totally Republican is the scariest thing I, as a civil rights trial lawyer, can even think of. But the good news from us on this side is that we have Gavin Newsom's going to be our next governor, and I think that is so fantastic. We have Kamala Harris, we have Nancy Pelosi, we have Dianne Feinstein, we have Jerry Brown right now. We have incredible Democrats right now, all from this state, fighting like mad for us, and Jackie Spear and Anna Ash, everybody is from right here, literally, if not San Francisco itself, right outside San Francisco, and that's because of what a great city we are. But I think that in all of this, we have to give all of these leaders as much support as we possibly can, especially our new mayor, London Breed. We should all try to be at her inauguration. That's extremely important to show support from San Francisco for our new mayor, and for Gavin Newsom. It's extremely important to show support. So in the coming months, my voice is shaking because the concept of Justice Kennedy leaving is absolutely devastating. Devastating. So we've got to help our people in the state of California do the best they can. And come November, I'll be having different events for Gavin Newsom and for Kamala Harris.
Specifically that you want to raise, or
Just that I'll be having events in September and October for Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom. Make sure that they have the best support they possibly can.
Member Davis.
So, you know, I think we shouldn't ignore the elephant in the room. We have 8 Democratic clubs that are very concerned about Member Alioto's ballot initiative, and I'd ask that we go on to the agenda so we can have a discussion and possible action.
Colleagues, any other comments? New business? Seeing none, that closes new business. With that, I think that concludes our meeting for tonight.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
clarification of what kind of action? I mean, the fact that Democrat is fighting Democrat right now is.
You want, sorry, clarification for what? I think she wants it on the agenda. She wants your ballot measure.
I want to discuss your ballot measure and the concerns that 8 Democratic clubs have raised regarding your ballot measure and possible action, if any.
Yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't we do it during our regular time to look at initiatives? And then those people can come to that meeting that we're having in August, and they can talk about it. Because that's when we hold that. That's when we.
So that's a question to Member Jesus.
Do I have a right to put something on the agenda or not? I think it's relevant now. It's an elephant in the room. There's a lot of people who are really upset by it, and I don't know if we should let it fester for 5 more months. We should start talking about it.
We're going to be looking at initiatives in August, aren't we?
Well, let me just say that I'm happy to put on the agenda any request that any member makes. Member Tomshay?
I just think I want to echo Member Maxwell's concern. I mean, we're going to basically take 2 bites of the apple. If it gets qualified, if it gets the signatures and makes it to the ballot, we're going to be debating it as an endorsed initiative or not. And then, so you're sort of, you're examining it before it actually becomes an actual initiative.
Member Mandelman?
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that what Member Jesus and the folks in the clubs who showed up want to talk about is not so much whether the Democratic Party is going to support or oppose this measure, but whether this measure and the fact that it's been put out at all by a member of this committee is worthy of condemnation, and that whether this party can be doing something stronger
8 Democratic clubs, and one of the things they're concerned about is whether this measure violates the California Democratic platform in terms of California Democrats will oppose local law enforcement agencies acting as federal immigration and cooperating with them, but more importantly, using this particular group, what we oppose actually scapegoating, racial profiling, bigotry, exploitation, anything that polarizes our community, announces actions by our government. Those things that were brought up in this campaign and that resulting in this particular measure is what I really want. I think we should discuss, and those are some of the complaints we have in front of us. What do we do with it or not, we'll decide as a committee, but I think I would like to ask to be on the agenda.
Member Francis.
I just have a point of clarification. Isn't this part of the agenda where we're just asking for things to be added on? We're not debating the things.
Yes.
We're just asking for things to be added. We can debate all of this on a future agenda, right?
Yeah, but I still have a right to due process to understand what Ms. Jesus, let me finish my sentence. What Ms. Jesus means by action. That's all I want to know. What does she mean by action? Whether there should be action taken. What's that mean?
What this committee decides to do with it. I mean, what this committee decides to do with it could be anything from a plain old discussion. It could be a resolution for a censure. It could be a variety of things, but it's up to the commission or the committee to decide.
Member, well, I hadn't adjourned yet because there was a question raised. So do you have a question? Okay. So as I noted earlier, under the rules, it is up to the chair to put something on the agenda. If the chair refuses, the majority can put it on the agenda. My general rule as chair is that when a member requests to put an item on the agenda, I will put it on the agenda because I believe in transparency and having an open discussion. And so, Member Township.
I'd just like to state publicly that before this meeting, I had heard a lot of very, very disturbing rumors about what was going to happen at this meeting related to Member Alvarado.
Speaking to the mic. And again, this is about whether or not something goes on the agenda, not whether we're debating the item.
So this is related to whether it goes on the agenda. It sounds like it's going to go onto the agenda. And that's fine. We should have a big, robust discussion about it. All I do is I caution the author and the proposer of the agenda item. We heard a lot of rumors about what was going to happen at this meeting regarding our member Alioto, member duly elected of the DCCC. And I want to say that it's a chilling time in San Francisco when you cannot come to this Democratic Party and voice what you believe is your truth as a Democrat. I know it's incongruous to what you believe, maybe over there on certain items. However, at the end of the day, we're all duly elected, we're all allowed our speech, we're all allowed our truth. You don't have to like it, but that does not mean you turn into a cabal of people who gang up on others to try to, number one, limit speech, or even go as far as to try to somehow disenfranchise a duly elected member off of this panel. It happened to me in one meeting. I was the target of such a cabal. It failed, thankfully, to disenfranchise my speech. I don't want to see it happen to anybody on this committee ever again. So please, if we're going to debate an issue, let's make it about the issue, not about the personality. I think we're big enough to have an adult debate about very important topics that affect our party, our community, and the people that we care about.
Again, we're now going to debate specific issues. One thing that I would say in terms of no one wants to limit free speech, but the chilling effect cuts in a number of ways because there are many immigrants who feel disenfranchised and threatened right now. So, Member Jesus.
So this is the item, I'm just going to set it for a moment. Come on, parliamentary hat. This is the item for new business. If there's no more new business, right? Like if people are saying, I want to put something on the agenda for next meeting, then we should limit the discussion and move to the next item, which is adjournment.
Any new business? Any other new business? The meeting is adjourned.
Pick your sign. Lots of them.
I'm baffled. I don't know what somebody this experience is baffled so much.